All right, folks, what is happening? Welcome back to another Tour Life podcast. Thanks for tuning in. We are live tonight. Yuli, how's it going, brother?
It's good. Back home, can't be more excited. Been on the road for a billion years, but back home, it feels amazing. I've absolutely done nothing but relax the last couple of days, so it's felt really, really nice.
Yep. We talked a little bit before we started here. If you're listening to us, you aren't seeing exactly what we're wearing, but we've got a big matchup coming up. So it's the week after MVP. So it would be not this Sunday, but next Monday. You've got the Raiders. I got my new swag on versus the Steelers going down here in Vegas. So I will be at that game. That will be the opening game for the Raiders at home. So I'll be flying back. I'm right now in Vegas. I'll be flying back to Vegas right after MVP and looking forward to that game as well. Before we jump in, because we have a whole bunch of stuff to say, before we jump in, we actually do have a sponsor for this. So we will get into that right now. Before we get into the episode, I want to let you guys know about our sponsor for this episode. It's BetterHelp. Is something interfering with your happiness or preventing you from achieving your goals? Regardless if you have a clinical mental health issue like depression or anxiety, or if you're just a human who lives in this world who is going through a hard time, therapy can give you tools to approach your life in a very different way. And that's why I'm excited to tell you about today's sponsor, BetterHelp. BetterHelp's mission is to make therapy more affordable and more accessible. And this is an important mission because finding a therapist can be really hard, especially when you're limited to the options in your area. BetterHelp is a platform that makes finding a therapist easier because it's online, it's remote, and by filling out a few questions, BetterHelp can match you to a professional therapist in as little as a few days. It's easy to sign up and get matched with a therapist. There's a link in my description down below, betterhelp.com/foundation disc golf. Click the link, help support this channel, but it also gets you 10% off your first month of BetterHelp so you can connect with a therapist and see if it helps you. And because finding a therapist is a little like dating, if you don't really fit with that therapist, which is a common thing with therapy, you can easily switch to a new therapist at no additional cost without stressing about insurance, who's in your network, or anything like that. So if you're struggling, consider online therapy with BetterHelp. Click the link in the description or visit betterhelp.com/foundation disc golf. Thank you again, BetterHelp, for supporting this channel. And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so we've got a lot to talk about. Me and Yuli obviously will go through our breakdown of how the week at Worlds went for us. As usual, we're going to have Isaac Robinson join us at 8:30. So just in about 25 minutes, Isaac will be joining us. Got a lot to talk about. Then we will go through our full Worlds recap, tons of storylines to cover on the MPO and FPO side. Then we'll finish it out with a few questions from the listeners and then a few tweets that kind of went viral in the disc golf world over this past week as well. But before we jump into all of that, we have some housekeeping. So again, everyone that joined me for the FPO companion stream, if you missed it, sorry. Hopefully you can join maybe the next time I do that. That is something that I'm going to try to do more often as far as just more content here on the channel. And to all those that have joined the Tour Life crew, TLC, thank you so much. If you haven't, click the join button down below and check it out. Also, it's always a passion. Sold out within, I think, the first hour. I did talk to Bob about it. It seemed like a lot of people were still interested in getting more of those. Yuli, do you want to talk a little bit about like supply and demand kind of on these releases of just how it's like, it doesn't make sense to make like 25,000 of a disc and then you sell 1,000 of them and now you have 24,000, like.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's something that's going on right now in the disc golf world. And I saw actually a post about it recently that got a lot of traction about somebody being like, why all the different releases, in different plastics and everything, because some of them are big hits and some of them, really aren't. Mm-hmm. So basically the gist of it is exactly what you said. Why make like 2,000 of them if 1,000 of them are going to sit on the, I love that sound.
On the shelves.
Yeah, when they're going to stay on the shelves. And what you got to think about is these companies, because all the companies really kind of do them. I think Discraft does it more than a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Is it's a special thing they can do for the players, and it kind of drives sales to the fans of those players, which is very, very important to have something that the fan kind of connect with that player with, rather than the stock stuff or making big time runs of something. And so that's what you got to really focus on. Is when they do sell out, it does suck for the consumer. I get that a lot. It really does, because then you're getting them second on the basically the black market, and the prices are all jumped up. But the fact that people are actually buying that many of them is huge, and you can look forward to having more discs come out, because these small releases aren't going to stop because they're so successful. And so it's just an easy way to help the players in a quick spot and help the fan base kind of grow.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right, of where I can see the frustration with some, but on the other side of things, if a disc does sell out as fast as it does, that notifies the retailer, or in this case, the manufacturer, that, oh, wow, this was like a good stamp, a good disc, whatever it may be. And because of that, guys, there is a good chance, I can't say 100%, but there is a good chance we will run another It's Always a Passion. But instead of doing the same exact one where, some people are like, hey, I paid $45 for a secondhand version, whatever. Instead of getting those people upset, we're going to probably do it on in a different plastic. So the stamp will be the same, but it'll be a different plastic. So if you missed out on the first, you could potentially get the second.
For example, like I had a release that was my favorite release we've done in a long time. We did just regular white ESP Raptors with my big UE stamp for the Ledgestone. I put one of those in my bag right away like this, because I liked it, and it was like kind of my idea. I wanted that exact stamp. They worked with me. We released a bunch of them. It didn't sell like I thought, because I really loved it, but that's not what the people loved. And then at D-Glow, we released the Jawbreaker Raptors with my stamp on those, and those went wild. And so it's hit and miss, like some people really like a stamp and some people really don't. And sometimes that's just what happens. Some kind of go off and others will stay there for a while. But also the good thing is, if you go to like Brodie's site or my site or one of the other teammates, there's going to be something for you to consume on that website usually.
Yeah, and I just want to say,
it's rare that everything it sells out completely.
Yeah, I mean, what they launched, I want to say they launched like 25 new products on the Friday of Worlds. I want to say somewhere like that. It was a lot of new problems, and I want to say shout out to all those listeners for supporting us, because wait, I'm going to try to say this the right way. It's Always a Passion was the #1 seller on the launch day. The Get Sneaky was the #3 seller, and the Get Flippy was the #4 seller. So you guys absolutely killed it. And by doing stuff like that, it makes it to obviously where it tells Discraft, hey, people want to buy these discs. We can do more stuff. So I just want to say appreciate all that. Speaking of which, Julie, there has been a lot of comments being sent in about a Tour Life disc. So this is something that we need to discuss probably off air and see exactly what we want to do. But if you guys are out there, have any ideas of what mold, what plastic, if we should do the logo of our podcast, maybe we do the Yuli Dark Horse combo logo, let us know. But I think Tour Life discs are in the future as well. And if you're listening to this, obviously right now, everyone's watching this live on YouTube, but if you're listening to this after the fact, or if you want to pop over real quick to Apple and Spotify, drop us a review and a rating over there. That helps the podcast out a lot. So we appreciate that. If you haven't done so, please maybe take some time and do that. Positions at Tour Life. I mentioned this. Yuli, we got a crap ton of resumes in. So we've got Brad. He's kind of going through all the different resumes. I think what we're going to end up doing is we're going to kind of narrow it down to like 10 people. And then we are going to do interviews. We're going to film the interviews. We won't do it live. because that's a little too stressful. But we will film the interviews and we will have them played on tour live in an upcoming podcast so that you guys can kind of give us feedback too on who you like. Because I think this position, especially the producer that's going to fill in for Silas, or when, you know, Silas isn't going anywhere, by the way. This is just on the rare occasions that Silas can't produce the show. We don't want to have to be able to not go live if we want to. So Silas isn't going anywhere. But for the social media person, this is someone that's going to be a part of the show as well. And I don't know if they're going to have a mic at the beginning. I think that's probably something they have to earn. But with that being said, we want you guys, the listeners, to have a little bit of a play and role in this. So if you like someone, you're like, that guy's dope or that girl's dope or whatever, that would actually be dope. If we had a sick chick on the show, that would be actually awesome. I don't know if any girls did apply. I'll have to talk to Brad about that. But that will be coming soon. I'm very excited about that. The Toronto Island, Yuli, that course deserves to be on tour.
Amazing,
silver
isn't
event,
it?
something like that. That course deserves to be on tour. If you haven't watched the video, check it out. It's the first time and only time that the World Championships has been played outside the U.S. That video is on my channel and Ezra's channel if you want to check that out. And I just want to take real quick. Listen. I've spent a lot of time, Yuli, complaining to the PDGA. On Twitter, I'm starting fights with everybody. I've ridiculed every bad trophy on tour. And I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, I like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody. The Dark Horse does what the heck the Dark Horse wants to do.
Oh, well, Connor throwback. I like it.
All right. With that being said, oh man. With that being said, we're gonna jump into real quick our recap of the tournament. So, Yuli, how did Worlds go for you, man?
Oh, give me a second, man.
Yeah. Sorry. Do you want me to say something first? We had a absolutely sick Airbnb. It was Airbnb. It was absolutely disgusting. We had one room that I think we could have hosted like 8 people. It was 8 bunk beds. Or like I guess you should say 4 bunk beds. 8 beds, 4 bunk beds. We had 3 other rooms. It was awesome. We ended up having myself, Ezra, Aaron, Jeeves, and Judah, Ezra's brother / caddy. We were all there all week, and it was phenomenal. Very awesome times for us at the Airbnb. Vermont's dope, by the way.
Oh, you haven't been there yet, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or did you go last year?
Last year was my first year, but I didn't stay in Stowe. So it was cool kind of driving through the Notch. That was my first time driving through the Notch. And wow. I think I've driven through it now 40 times. So I think I'm good on driving through it. But if you've never gone up there, guys, we'll get into it a little bit. This is what I'll say. It is the perfect disc golf resort. Yep. That's the vibe I get. It's like the perfect, like, let's go on a bros trip and play some disc golf.
It really is. No, similar to you, we had a sweet Airbnb right on this creek down in Stowe. We had restaurants kind of all right there. I got to, after every round, just go in the backyard, jump in the creek, which was ice cold for my nice ice bath.
Oh my god!
And I think we had, something like 6 or 7 people staying at our Airbnb. So it was really cool. It was relaxing. The tournament, it went well. I mean, we'll get into it later, but the crowd that was out there was phenomenal.
Bro, you got some massive cheers on Sunday. I got to see, I was there, and I saw you tap out, and man, there was a lot of people rooting for you out there. That was cool to see.
Yeah, it was cool, man. Tournament started off a little slow for me, and it didn't change. Like, I couldn't get off the tee to save my life, which I was worried. I was really worried about that going into the tournament because I've kind of been getting away with some lackluster, I guess, fairways hit off the tee. And I knew you needed a certain shot at that course that I've been able to throw in the past really well. You really have to be able to drift the disc from left to right on almost every shot. Start it left, drift it right, land it soft. I've been struggling with that since my shoulder injury. And so I've kind of developed more of a hyzer flip game, which you kind of then have to start it middle, drift it left, and then right.
Yeah.
And those fairways just
much harder.
Yeah, it's just they aren't made for that. So I was scrambling off of, I think after the third round, I was 179th off the tee, which is
Yikes.
not getting it done. But
No.
my scrambling was magnificent. I ended up finishing second in scrambling in the tournament.
Wow.
And then like top 5 in putting, which was good. And so it was like a love-hate relationship with my rounds because I was throwing it so bad, but then I was really salvaging some really good scores for how bad I was playing. I had one really bad round that kept me out of like the top 20. I ended up shooting at even at Fox Run, which if you do that there, you're absolutely getting lapped.
Yeah.
But other than that, my rounds were really consistent. I was happy with the way that I played. I mean, in a 5-round event, if you can stay consistent, you can usually finish pretty high. And I wasn't able to do that because of the one round. But then I was looking at the scores, and let's say I would have shot a 7 under, that would have just jumped me up to like a couple places, which is one thing I kind of wanted to talk about. The payout was pretty good. Honestly.
Yeah, was it like $1,000 went all the way down to like 25th or 24th, I think,
No,
right?
I got 40th and I got $1,000. So I ended up tying for 40th. I got $1,000, but that was what was funny.
Dang,
7
went down that
strokes.
far? Jeez.
7 strokes above where I finished and tied 40th was only $500 more.
Oh, so there was just like a weird, there was just a weird gap of where there's no one at.
Exactly. So, you know, I'm happy with the way that I finished because I knew kind of going into the week, like I was trying to force shots kind of early, and then I kind of settled into like, okay, this is just how it's going to be. I'm going to have to scramble and make putts, and I was able to do that. So I was proud of myself for being able to scramble and actually, you know, 40th there really wasn't that bad. We had a lot of good players. The conditions were so perfect that the scores were absolutely like phenomenal. I was looking at the scores from the previous World Championships there, and I finished 4th in 2018. My score would have gotten like, I think 12th this year. Wow. So the scores were way better, way better, and the courses actually got harder, I thought.
Wow, that's interesting.
But yeah, no, all in all, a pretty good trip. Disappointed with 40th, but at the same time, the other side of the coin is I battled my butt off, and I deserved 40th, and that's exactly what I earned myself. It could have been way worse.
Yeah, when you were talking about how you need that left to right backhand shaping shot, you know who's really good at that shot and what other course needs that shot? W.R. Jackson and Isaac Robinson, who will be joining us here shortly. So that is, I think that's something that every pro, if you struggled at Brewster, every pro is like, all right, this is the shot I need to work on in the offseason. Because I was doing the opposite. You went like, okay, I'm just going to try to throw like a hyzer flip. I was like, I'm going to try to throw a forehand hyzer flip.
Oh, wow.
And I don't think that was a good idea. It did not bode well for me at Brewster. I got absolutely brutalized at Brewster shot like 5 over, I want to say, the first day. Might have shot only 1 or 2 under, maybe even the final round that I had out there, which was on Saturday for me. So Brewster absolutely ate me alive. And then Fox, I had a good front 9 the first round out there, and then I had a good back 9. Sorry, flip that. I had a good back 9 the first round. I had a good front 9 the second round. I couldn't play all 18 holes for either round. So that was, I think I was like 8 under through 10, and then I finished 7 under for the round. So that kind of was the story of my tournament, which is frustrating. And I told, I went on Twitter, obviously, and showed my frustration and how I've been playing this season. And, I've got 2 tournaments left because the Tour Championship, I'm pretty much out of it. I don't think I actually can. Even if I win MVP, I don't think that's going to be enough points to get me in it.
If you win, you're in.
That is true. I lied. If I got second place, I don't think that's enough points for me to get in. So if I win, I'm in, which would be great. But right now I'm just looking at, I've got 2 tournaments left. I got MVP and I got USDGC, which I like both those tournaments for my game. And I was really confident coming into Worlds, and it did not show on the playing side. So that's something I'm going to try to have to figure out. But a couple other stories for me before we get Isaac to come on here. Kelsey told me, do not forget to buy Vermont syrup. I want some good syrup. Make sure you get it and bring it back. And I was like, all right. So I went to this store, and there was like, 15 different options all on one shelf. And I'm like looking through them all, and most of them are in glass. And I'm like, well, okay, I'm going to have to fly back. I don't want to put glass syrup in my bag because one, I'm okay if like a glass object shatters in my bag. It's like, all right, I can just pick out all the glass, whatever. Glass syrup shattering, and now you've got syrup all in your, like, that's the last thing I wanted. So okay, I narrowed it down to like 2 or 3 that weren't glass. And I looked at this one, and it was like 100% Vermont syrup. So I bring it home, and I'm like super excited. I can't wait. I'm like, you want me to make pancakes tonight? Like, all this. And then she pulls it out of my bag, and she just starts laughing. And she's like, are you serious? I'm like, what are you talking about? It says 100% Vermont syrup right there. She brings me over to the refrigerator, opens the refrigerator door, and it's the same syrup that's in the refrigerator that she bought at Whole Foods earlier.
Total bogey.
I was like, what? I was like, that's not on me. It's not on me that Vermont ships their syrup all over the place, apparently, and it's not as unique as I thought it was. So took an L on the Vermont syrup. Shuttle. The shuttle situation was very, very interesting. I do kind of want to wait a little bit and talk about this with Isaac some more, because I'm curious to see how he handled it and how you handled it as well. But I'll just preface it with letting people know before we get into it. The shuttle service, there wasn't like a players only shuttle service, and the players shuttle or the players parking lot was the farthest one away from the course. So there would be a lot of instances, almost every instance, of where you would get on the shuttle and then you would like pick up spectators or volunteers on the way to the course. And then leaving the course, you were just like waiting in a line. And I think initially they had told us that there was going to be shuttles just for our parking lot. But, there's some stories there of, from tour players just sitting down next to like spectators and having to have conversations and whatnot with people after a good round or a bad round, whatever it may be. Yeah. So we'll see what Isaac did, because there was a crazy thing that went down with the restart that I want to dive into a little bit, because it wouldn't be a world championship if there wasn't some sort of PDGA, mishap, if you will. Right. Like I said, I was able to go the final day, which was awesome. I was 50-50 on whether or not I wanted to go. I would say that was the first time I actually decided to ever go back to a tournament or go to a tournament that I got cut from. And I'm glad I did. I did. I didn't do I'm just going to stand like in where the players are and like follow a card like I'm caddying or something like that. I was just in the crowd. I was just in general population, general admission. And I'll say this, the course is actually, that was a really cool course, Fox Run, to like watch.
Yeah.
Very cool. And that was dope. It was really cool to see firsthand, see how guys were handling the pressure, handling the noise volume. The crowds were very impressive. I was very impressed with how many people showed up to a location that's not easy to get to.
Yeah.
Like that was my biggest worry, right? Is like, there's not really a big city near here. So a lot of people showed up, and it was overall, I think, at the end of the day, I think overall it was a really good Worlds. I think from the courses to the play to the production to everything, I feel like it was a pretty good World Championships. What were your thoughts on Worlds as a whole?
I thought it was fantastic. I mean, Smuggler's Notch, in my opinion, is the best we got as far as a venue. I wish it was in a better location, and that's why I was so surprised with the crowd. I met more people than I can count that said they flew in to watch. Like that was their trip for the year is to go watch the World Championships. And I can't think.
There was a honeymoon too. I think I saw that.
Yeah, there was.
Someone
I
had their
can't think of
honeymoon there.
a better place for a disc golf fan to go to watch. Like if you're looking to go spectate and you want to make a trip out of it, it's not going to be the World Championships next year, but Smuggler's Notch is a spot because there's so much stuff to do. It feels like almost a camping trip. There's like little hole in the wall restaurants that are really good, breweries everywhere if that's your jam. There's hikes you can take, beautiful scenery. I mean, at that time of year, we were about 2 weeks short of it being the most beautiful place on the planet. The leaves were just barely starting to change. And yeah, I mean, we got blessed with great weather too. The final day, no wind. I mean, it was absolutely spectacular. Like, I've always said it's my favorite place to play, and it still is. And I'm glad that that's one of our stops, especially that time of year. I mean, it's almost like a reset tournament to me because of how relaxing it is. Like you saying, like your Airbnb and everything, like it really feels like a camping trip or something like that, to where you can leave. You're playing a tournament, but when you are done, the stress kind of falls off you because you're in such a beautiful place and it's very relaxing. You know, if you get that nice cabin or Airbnb type feel, or you're staying in Smugs, yeah, I don't know. I can't say enough good things about it, honestly.
I mean, if I'm going to miss a cut at a World Championship, I'd much rather it be in Vermont than in the middle of Kansas.
Peoria.
I'll say that. Or Peoria. Emporia, Peoria. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of places, I guess, that would be much worse to just lay an egg at the World Championships. Did you see bears at all?
Oh, yeah.
So you did see them.
So I went into the creek once, and I'm laying there at night. It's pitch black. Before I go out there, Sarah tells me, she's like, there's bears out there. You need to be careful. I'm like, there's not going to be any bears, so I'm fine. And so I go back out there. It's pitch black, and I like dunk in there, and I grab my phone, and I put on like a podcast, and I'm sitting there soaking, and I hear like rustling in the woods or whatever, and I'm like, dang, that sounds kind of big, you know? I'm like just chilling. I'm like, okay, like, don't panic. It's probably a deer or something, or I figured like AB or Adam was coming to like scare me or something. And then like 60 feet away, a big old black bear comes into the water.
Oh my gosh.
And it's just like kind of looking at me. And I'm like, oh boy, like what do I do? And I could tell, you know, I've been around bears plenty of times in my life.
You're a bear guy. You're a bear guy.
Well, in Arizona, we have a lot of nature, and I grew up in the mountains, so there's black bears everywhere. But still, a bear's a bear. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, so do I like start like growling or what do I do? And I'm like, I don't know.
That air horn.
So I'm just chilling and I'm like, all right, I guess we're icing together. And then all of a sudden my phone starts ringing. And I get on there and Josh is staying like kind of next to me in the other place.
You're taking a phone call with a bear next to you?
Yeah. So, it's ringing. And so I'm like, okay, I got to answer this. And I'm like, what up? And he's like, bear just ran right past our hotel and it's going to you guys. And I'm like, yeah, I'm in the creek right now with the bear. So I'm having this conversation with the bear right there. And I'm like, I gotta go. So I get up and I like kind of like just walk over to my stuff and grab it and just kind of walk back to the Airbnb. But I can officially say I took an ice bath with a friendly black bear, and it was wow. It was the full Vermont experience. I'll tell you that much.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't get to see him. I did hear a couple of horns going off while I was playing, which they were using
right.
to like distract the bears, or
scare them off.
Yeah, detract the bears, I guess would be a better word for it. But yeah, I mean, you can come out and watch disc golf, and who knows, you might even see a bear as well. So the food also up there, surprisingly really good. Really good food. There was a really good sushi place, had some really good pizza. There was this place that had this mac and cheese that was like top tier stuff. Yeah. So to me, it seemed like the absolute perfect disc golf getaway for those looking. So and also it's actually dope to play courses that the World Championships were on. So those are all cool things. All right, we are going to try to get Isaac in here in a few. I think he's trying to join right now. And we will see what the champ has to say once Silas throws him in here. No, we can see him. Yeah, you can. Oh, yeah, we can hear him too. All right, well, there he is. The 2023 world champion, Isaac Robinson, wanting to be called the champ moving forward. Oh, he's gone. All right, that's all we had. That was great. That was a great interview. And I guess, that's he's a busy man. He's a 2-time major winner.
Yep.
He's a world champion. He's a busy man. He only has so much time for us.
Off to the Nick and Matt show.
Yeah. Yep. On to the next podcast, I guess. We'll take the scraps. We'll take the leftovers. Do we have him, Silas, or okay. Can we hear Isaac? Can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Okay, fantastic. Okay. Sweetness. All right, very cool. I don't think we have your video, but that's fine. As long as we have your audio, that's all that matters. All right, so I get okay. I'll do it again. Introducing your 2023 world champion, Isaac Robinson. How does that sound? Because I know last time you jumped on here, we did first time major champion. Now world champion, a little sweeter sounding.
Yes, and a little crazier.
Are you like enjoying it with some like grape juice right now? What are you drinking? What is that? Grape juice?
It's some cold brew.
Oh, some cold brew. Oh, nice. Okay. I think Yuli, Yuli gets down with that.
Hear myself talking twice.
That's a Silas situation. Yeah.
Is that normal?
No, definitely not normal, but normal to tour life, not normal for what we're trying to do.
The fact that your screen went completely dark and the fact that you can hear yourself twice and there's some issues sounds like you're in my studio over here, actually.
Hey, there is no crackle though, so we are moving forward for sure.
Okay.
All right. Let me tell you. You probably know some of these stats, but I do want to just throw this out there because I thought this was very interesting. Statmando threw this out there and said that this was the shortest amount of time between the first and second major wins at 133 days. The previous record was held by Nico at 245 days, and you are now the first player since Paul McBeth in 2019 to win multiple majors in the same season. Isaac, are you a major champion killer? Should we be worried in the future here?
Stats don't lie. Yeah.
Is this like is this one of those like Brooks Koepka moments where you just decide that the major champions or major championships you just show up and like these are the ones you're just going to absolutely destroy everyone every single time?
Yeah, I think those are the ones that matter. Those are the ones people care about. So I figured I might as well bring my A game and try to take those down.
So last time you were on here, we discussed a little bit, and I got some flack for it, right? Because you just came off of winning a Champions Cup, a very difficult major to win. And I was like, yeah, man, but you don't have a forehand. Are you going to work on a forehand? You had mentioned that you know that that's an area of your game that you currently don't have, and that was something that you were potentially like looking to work on in the off season. You just won a world championship. Have you changed your mind on the forehand? Do you feel like that's still something that you need to work on? Is that something that you can still get better? Or are you feeling that, a backhand, having a solid backhand is all you really need to be able to compete on tour?
No, I think you definitely need a forehand at some points. And in fact, I threw a couple forehands this past week.
Ooh, so talk to me about that.
It's
Scramblers?
Yeah, wait, talk to me about that. What kind of forehands are we talking about here?
Yeah, so hole 2 Brewster, the second shot, I was in a good spot, and there's no backhand line at all. So I had to go a little chop forehand, and it ended up working out pretty well.
So are you just thinking about like trying to, because I feel like that forehand you've had. So are you feeling like you just want to maybe have like a more of a power forehand? Is that what you're thinking of trying to develop in the off season?
Yeah, I want to get right now. It's like 250, 275 is about the max of like an accurate forehand. And so I would love to hit that like 350, 320. Just have a little bit more distance with it.
Yuli, any thoughts on that? Like, Is that
yeah? If I was his coach, I would tell him absolutely abandon that thought. I would say you don't need one, especially with how accurate you are with your turnover, because one of the things that we were talking about, even on the podcast last week, was how you have to be able to drift the disc from left to right and land the disc soft. And it seems like at major championships, that's something that you absolutely have to have. The course designers usually make the landing zones to where if you're skipping at all and you have some power coming into there, that you have to skip it from out of bounds into the safe area, which is tricky because you don't get a skip. You get a skip and then you're kind of rolling the dice a little bit. But with the way that you throw, it seems like, you can kind of take it out over the OB in flight and then land it really soft, and you're not getting those big skips to where the power forehand, that's kind of what's going on. You have to play the ground play a little bit. And I don't know, watching, one of the things is that I noticed watching the final round, which I caught some flack for it actually on the Jomez coverage, was people were telling me that I was kind of foreshadowing that you were going to win the tournament. But that wasn't foreshadowing. That was just me watching the way that you were playing and seeing how dialed you were with the shots that you had, and just being like, listen, the way that this guy is playing, like, it is so easy. It's so simple. The disc is landing exactly where it is thrown. There's no ground play. The consistency of doing that, it's no surprise to me that you won at Champions Cup, obviously. But it's definitely no surprise to me that you won at this tournament. And then moving forward, like thinking about like USDGC, I feel like you got a great chance at that place too, because it's not a big distance course either. And landing inbounds and making, I
don't want to hear this
putts.
Distance slander towards Isaac. Isaac throws far. I don't know if he will. I don't know if he will say that he throws far.
I want to talk about that too.
If he doesn't say he throws far, he is a liar, and I will call him out on it. Isaac Robinson throws far. Do not listen to anyone that says differently.
Let's break that down, because I know he throws far. He can throw it enough. But he's not overpowering courses. Like you see Anthony Barilla and Eagle McMahon, for example.
Sure, yeah. I mean,
like
Isaac's not top three in the world. Yeah.
Well, no. Isaac's not eagling a lot of holes out there. Like he doesn't have to go for those. He's landing in the middle.
Good question.
Can
you get 12, Isaac, you think?
With like two perfect just smashes.
Okay. Yeah.
See,
I see what you're saying, Yulia. I see what you're saying.
They're going in there with buzz. And then what I mean by power as well is throwing a sidearm on some of these holes, being able to take that angle away. They're throwing sidearm power hyzers to where he's not doing that. That's power play. You get what I'm saying? And so
no,
when I'm saying that he's not a power player, I mean,
I'm wondering, is that good? That might be bad, Yuli.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm trying to get to the point.
I might be switching my whole thing. Power players might be out.
Well, he doesn't have to, because the other thing is watching how controlled he is. He seems like a guy, like a front runner, which is like the best trait you can possibly have, is being able to have a lead and give 0 inches. Like, okay, so you're gonna make those guys have to push to try to get the eagles, because you're just gonna birdie the hole. That is a fantastic skill to have. And so it's not a slander by saying you don't throw far. Obviously, you throw far enough. But I mean, I could name, like, Paul McBeth throws farther than you. Eagle McMahon throws far. Let's list the last world champions. The only one that comes to mind is Greg Barsby. But besides that, like, everybody else can clearly overpower a course.
Well, you can't really overpower Brewster, though. But I do want to ask. I do want to ask something about your caddy, though, real quick. Dad back on the bag. Was there any conversation afterwards, like, "Hey, Pops,
you got to come with me forever.
Let's go full time, baby. Let's go full time."
Oh yeah, he'll be at USDGC for sure. And I was already telling some people I'm gonna have to fly him out to European Open. So, we got to keep the streak alive.
Okay, so just the big tournaments is where we should see your dad back on the bag?
Yeah.
Pro Tour Championships?
A lot of money.
He might be back home at that point.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm calling him. He's caddying for me if I make it.
This actually, this random question just popped up. Really good. This is from Ryan. How would he choose if you and Ezra were both on lead card? Who gets your dad to caddy for him?
Man, see, that's an easy question because Ezra's married, so it's kind of a no-brainer. Kyler will be on the bag for Ezra, and Dad will be on the bag for me.
Okay, all right, that works out for you. Have you watched the final round footage yet?
Mm-hmm.
Have you gone back and watched it? Terrible question. Sorry, I apologize. Terrible question. I will work on my line of questioning because that was obviously too bad for him to answer, and so he's gone now. Oh, he's back. Okay. Did you get that one?
Not at all.
Okay. Have you watched the coverage yet? Have you gone back and watched it?
I did on my drive up to Canada.
What'd you think? Is it pretty dope?
It was amazing. I think that intro was one of the sickest things I've ever seen.
Did I foreshadow you winning?
I don't think so. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm gonna say you didn't. You're cleared.
It's gotta be so hard though, Yuli, for you guys to not. I mean, you know what happens, so to you're basically almost acting like you don't know what happens.
I try not to act honestly at all. I try not to act. The biggest thing you can do when commentating is just say what you see. That's it. Like that's your job, is to show the audience what's going through your brain in real time. That's it. So sometimes it comes off like that, but I mean, that's just what you see, you know what I mean? Like, I don't even know how else to explain it. Like, I can't change what I'm seeing in the moment, and that's what I'm saying. Like, if I didn't know the outcome, I feel like I would have said pretty close to the same thing. I know it would change a little bit, obviously, because we know things that happen kind of down the stretch, and you kind of got to pad those areas to create drama and those things. But I try not to do that as much as possible.
I had a massive debate. I think we probably stayed up way too long debating this with some of my roommates this past week. So I got to hear it from you because I got to know.
How many times do you go to bed without a massive debate? Curious.
Oh, it's just hey, you want to pop into our Airbnb? We'll talk about if we've been on the moon. We'll talk about what's in our water. We'll talk about are we getting brainwashed through the radio waves, dude? Just come to us. We were talking the other day. If you dug a hole straight through the earth and dropped the ball, what would happen? Swing on by, Yuli. Sometimes you'll have a good old time. But the debate question was, what did you feel like? What tournament did you feel more comfortable at? Sleeping on the lead at Champions Cup or sleeping on the lead at the World Championships?
Stupid question.
Questions are so bad. Okay, you are back. All right, I think we're gonna go audio only here. We're gonna try audio only for a little bit and see if this works. Okay. So the question was, going to sleep, going into the final day, final round. What did you feel like? What tournament did you feel more comfortable? Champions Cup or World Championship?
Before he answers, what do you think, Brodie? What was your side of the debate?
I can't. I won't lie. No, I can't. I can't. You know, I'll let him.
This is gonna sound weird, but I'm gonna say Worlds. I think.
I knew it. I knew it too.
Just, I don't know. I don't know if it was the experience or just I worked so hard to put it out of my mind that I just couldn't. I just forgot it immediately. You know, I tried so hard to just focus on the shots, not even think about the next round coming up, and then just went on with my day.
This was, I mean, I'm going to take your word for it over my word for it, but I said Fox Run was a course that I felt like you were going to feel confident that you weren't going to lose a lead on.
Yeah, as long as I wasn't throwing OB, then I was good.
And like coming down the stretch, that, 16 can be a little bit tough at Fox. Obviously 18 can play very tough if you like need a birdie. But I was like, bro, if he can maintain the lead he has coming down the stretch, he's just going to coast. Versus Champions Cup, I feel like, man, like 16, 7, or 16 get dicey, 17 for sure. And then 18's no cupcake either anymore. So I just felt like your game probably going into Fox in a course where, you play bad out there, you shoot 8 under, 9 under, 7 under, something like that. You're still in it with this 3-shot lead that you had. So that was kind of my take on it. We might have lost him again. Potentially. We'll see if he pops back. Okay, he's back. Okay. All right. This was a quote that you said, I believe, after your tournament. I thought it was very interesting. You said, I felt pretty comfortable through the front 9. Then when we got to hole 10 and they eagled hole 12, I thought, oh no, because the lead. Oh yeah, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
The Wi-Fi here must be so bad.
Oh, it's okay. It's the Airbnb Wi-Fi situation. We deal with it.
I don't think he can hear us, is the thing.
I can hear Paul.
Testing. That's wild. He can only hear you and not me. I think he just muted me. I think he's over talking to me.
Those questions, dude.
Those trash questions. Can you hear me now, Isaac?
Brodie just disappeared. He is no longer here.
We'll see maybe if he bounces back. Maybe have him try calling in on his phone off the Wi-Fi and just like having it just be audio. Don't even select the video portion. Just literally have him call in just with audio. And maybe we'll go there. I'll read this out because this wasn't really a question, but I thought this was really interesting. So Isaac after his round said, I felt pretty comfortable through the front 9. Then when we got to hole 10 and they eagled, by he means Eagle and AB, hole 12, I thought, oh no, because the lead goes from 4 or 5 down to 2. My dad told me just get 3 more birdies. And I was just counting them down, 13, 14, 16. And then 17 was just the cherry on top. That's dope. And I think right there, having your dad on the bag to let you know, like, listen, you've got holes coming up that you can birdie. If you can get 3 more birdies, and also having a smart caddy, because I'm sure he was doing the math in his head of where if you just get 3 more birdies, you cannot lose this thing. Yeah. And I think that put him at ease. And he was just able to take care of business and was able. Oh,
all right, I can see you guys.
Can you hear us now?
Oh, I can.
You can. You're back. Yep. Okay, sweet. Okay. All right. Well, we're gonna jump into it because I have to ask you. First off, I want to ask you: did you get affected? Were you in the group of where you had to wake up and play the round 2 in the morning?
No. I was able to finish the round. I was the first tee time that day.
Okay. How was your shuttle experience? We got to share a shuttle ride together on Sunday.
Yeah. It was good. I think there wasn't a whole lot of people there on the first day, and smooth. It was easy. Yeah. It was a little fast down that hill, but
no interesting shuttle stories? Sharing the shuttle with anyone? Any interesting characters or anything?
No, I did lose my AirPods on that shuttle, and then for the next 2 days, watched them go up and down the mountain from my phone. So,
you were able to see someone was using them. Oh, interesting. Okay. So Yuli,
I tracked them to a bus, found them again.
Oh, you got him. Oh, sick. Yuli, did you have to do the weird shuttle thing in the morning where you didn't know if a shuttle was showing up or not?
I did. But before we talk about that, I wanted to mention that Isaac had to start his tournament in the torrential downpour where he birdied a billion holes, which was actually making me very angry because I'm sitting there and I'm waiting and I'm just watching this guy, and I'm like, dude, I'm looking outside my Airbnb, and it is just coming down, and I just see birdie. And I'm like thinking to myself, like, is Brewster like that covered to where like they're not gaining like and like affected by this? And then Haley King had a post, and Bradley Williams had a post where it showed Haley throwing a shot. And she's just absolutely drenched. And I'm like, how is this kid doing this? This is insane. I thought that was probably the best score I've ever seen in my life, is you coming out of there, however many under par you did in that sort of torrential downpour. Shuttle service, though, yeah, I had to wait a couple times. It wasn't that bad, though, for me. The bad part was going back to my car. Getting there wasn't a big deal. Going back to the car, you had to wait. You had to wait a while.
Yeah, I was just I've heard a couple stories from other players where they showed up. I think their restart time was 7:30 in the morning for them on Thursday, and a bunch of people had made comments asking about the shuttle the night before, like, are we going to get picked up?
Yeah.
What's the deal? No response, and then they showed up to the parking lot, still kind of being like, I hope a shuttle shows up. I guess the shuttle did show up, but didn't really get them to the course with that much time, which is unfortunate for those that had to deal with that. And then I think like a message ended up going out, when the round had already started, that shuttles were going to be there to pick them up. So there was a little bit of a fiasco for some players. It sounds like some people didn't have to deal with it, which was awesome. I definitely got to enjoy some people that had a lot of fun, I will say, on Sunday on the shuttle service back. So that was, did you take a shuttle back, Isaac? And how rowdy of a shuttle was that, if you did?
No, unfortunately, I didn't get to experience that. I had to go do a photo shoot, so ended up just driving back on my own.
People lifting you up in the shuttle, just like launching you in the air. Oh, man. All right. I do want to talk a little bit about your thoughts on this, because you are on the one spectrum where people look at you as a very fast player when you play. Mm-hmm. You step up to a tee pad, you have a disc in hand, you throw, you step up to your mini or your lie, you make the putt. Do you think you play fast, or do you think people just play slow?
Oh man, that's kind of a loaded question there.
Well, I do. I will say,
you said a good question there, Brodie. Nice.
I want to get into slow play a little bit.
I did see that post that you had. I think I play relatively fast. I think it's the perfect speed for myself. Mm-hmm. But relative to the rest of the field, I think obviously it's a little bit faster. So for me, I don't need that much time to look at the line, figure out what I'm going to throw. I'm doing that halfway down the fairway anyway. So there's not a whole lot of reason for me to take a lot of time.
You can pass. I will give you the opportunity, since you are a world champion. I'll give you the opportunity to pass on this one. Do you think the tour has an issue with slow play?
I don't think so. I'm gonna say that from my observation, most of the backups or the slow play involves the spotters not letting people throw on par fours and fives when the next group is out of the way. They wait for the group to get all the way to the green, and that causes a lot of backups. Even if it's only like 1 or 2 minutes, it just floods the whole thing.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you on the fact that does cause a lot of backups. I still think people that walk slow cause backups as well. So we can agree to disagree on that one.
I have a question for you, Isaac. Does slow play bother you, like on your card?
Somewhat. I'm not naming names, but last round of D-Glow, I was getting a little irritated with some slow people on my card.
Look up his card, folks. Look up his card. Dig it up.
Gannon Burr was definitely not on the card.
He was in
No, but
front
it
of you.
was-
No, just kidding.
No,
I was waiting on
but
every
there-
tee pad.
Yeah, occasionally it does, especially if it's like windy and there's like a break in the wind, and then they just take forever, and then by the time it's your turn, it's like windy again. And
They
you know.
take your wind.
exactly.
I hate that.
Yuli's
That
been
was
saying
my
this all
wind.
year.
That was mine. You stole that from me.
I will say though, having someone like yourself though be a 2-time major champion winner and playing the way you do, it definitely makes me happy because you're going to be looked at by a lot of up and coming players, and I think having someone that plays quick as you do is a good thing, because I think hopefully other people coming up will look at that and be like, oh, I don't need to stand in front of my disc for 45 seconds. And then also, to me, it's still just the walking thing. The walking thing will drive me crazy. Well, I won't bore you with that. Me and Yuli will go into that a little bit more in detail later.
So the marshal should just monitor how fast people walk.
See this? Okay,
Be like,
you want to go there,
going.
Isaac? I'll go there if you want to go there. I was about to move on to the next topic.
Let's go there a little bit. I want to
Okay, let's go there.
hear this.
Okay, let's go there. I think what should happen is marshals should be around the course, and they should be looking at either PDGA Live or UDisc, whichever one, and identifying gaps of where, oh, there's a 3-hole gap here. Oh, there's a 4-hole gap here. And I'm agreeing with you on the fact that yes, there has been times where we're just standing there like, why can't we throw? And the spotters aren't letting us do that. So I think increasing, getting rid of that however you want, when I'm just like, hey, I'm laying up, I'm not going for the green, let me throw. I think that would help it. But I don't think you necessarily need to have a marshal come to you and say, hey, you're walking slow. I think what you need to have is a marshal comes to you and say, hey, there's 3 holes in front of you with no one on them. You guys need to try to close that gap. And that can be done. The easiest way of doing it, instead of like being like, oh, I'm just walking up to my disc and chucking it and not thinking about it, is just walk to your disc faster. And if you walk to your disc faster, you can take just as much time as you want that you normally do at your disc, because you walk to your disc faster. So that's where I'm at. And I think the marshal should just walk with that group to be like, what's going on here? And they can kind of see what needs to happen. That would be the only thing, is like, I don't think there should be 3, 4, 5 hole gaps in between groups.
Oh, definitely not. Yeah.
I think one of the biggest problems is the absolute distance freaks that we have on tour. And they throw a shot that just obliterates the normal landing zone.
Yeah.
And then I'm stuck behind them. And then the spotter has the red flag for me. And I'm like, I can't even see the group. I can't even, like, why am I not able to throw? And I have to wait so long because AB just threw one 700 feet up a side of a mountain. And so then they have to hold everybody because of that one shot. I think that's the biggest problem, honestly, is the distance gap with some of these guys is so drastically big in between groups. And our par 4s and 5s are actually relatively short. And so,
Yep. Fantasy draft. That's fine. Go make your first pick. Let us know who you pick. All right. Isaac, are you able to see me? Because I want to try to pull something up if you're able to see me.
I can, yes.
Okay, sweet. We're going to have Silas pull up this meme. And for those listening, I'll explain it. And first off, I want to know if you've seen this meme. And then I want to know if there was any sort of motivation here. So this is a meme that kind of was going around. This is with this was back when Brodie and Gannon were kind of going back and forth a little bit, and it says Gannon. This was what Brodie had said in their kind of back and forth. They said Gannon Buhr's departure would leave Brodie without a high-profile PDGA athlete for the 2023 season. And then it has the Isaac Robinson with the MJ. I took that personally meme. First off, did you see this?
Oh yes, I think.
Okay.
I got a huge kick out of seeing those memes early in the year.
What has Prodigy done, I guess, since your world championship? What can you tell us that is in the works with Prodigy? I'm sure they're super stoked, but do you want to kind of fill in the people on what's maybe we can expect moving forward with you and Prodigy?
How many zeros How many zeros can we be looking forward to?
Tell me when to stop. Okay. Tell me when to stop. How many zeros? Yeah. How many zeros?
Yeah. Well, first of all, we're working on, coming out with collab series, which is huge. I'm really excited about that. I got the first mid-range dropping, or it already dropped, the archive. So super excited about that. And hoping to just kind of continue this good relationship with Prodigy. I'm very happy with what my contract is now. After 2022, they gave me a pretty decent raise, pretty much whatever I asked for. And going into 2024, it's going to go up a little bit. And, once the contract year approaches, then I think we're talking potentially the big zeros that you guys are talking about.
Heck yeah. Love to freaking hear that. So right now you've earned $116,709 this year in just prize money alone. First off, what does that number mean to you? And did you ever think like you were talking about years ago, you were watching Greg Barsby win the world championship at the same course that you won. Did you ever think it was possible that you'd be making six figures playing disc golf?
Not at all. I think when I was younger and I told my dad that, I might want to try to play disc golf, or I think Ezra told him that. He was like, that's not really a sustainable job. That's not really gonna, that's not something you can do and make a living. And, I consider myself very blessed to live in a time where you can make a sustainable living off of disc golf. Back in the day, that's probably not the case. But now there's room to make six figures, and you see guys signing $1 million deals. So it's a great time to be alive and a great time to be in the sport. So,
what are we doing?
Yeah, I never really thought six figures would be on the table. So,
are we doing anything special with the $30K that you won at Worlds? Dumb question. Not going to ask that. Dumb question.
Not right now.
Oh. Okay, not that. Okay.
Am I back?
Cool. No, you're back. All right, cool. It was a dumb question. We're moving forward. Okay. We're moving forward. I want to ask this because this is an interesting one. This is, Yuli, you can chime in too about this one because I would love to hear. Both you guys have been kind of at disc golf way longer than I have. So I'm curious your guys' take on this. And I will wait a second once Isaac reconnects here very shortly. Ron Jones said, I'm glad. What?
How much did he make?
He's at $116,709.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, you're back. Okay.
I'm back. What was the interesting
It
one?
was not interesting. We've already moved past that, Isaac. Let's not go back in time. All right. That was another bad question. It's all good. It was a bad question. Okay, so there was an interview that Johnny did with Ezra before Worlds, and they were talking about burnout. Ezra kind of said that he doesn't believe that burnout exists in disc golf, and his take was kind of on the fact that, and I kind of agree a little bit, to where there isn't this physical toll on the body that you eventually will just get to the point of where you just can't play disc golf anymore. And then also our sport isn't one where we like taper to where we try to peak, with, if we're doing weightlifting or if we're doing like speed training and running, you end up tapering right before your event. Do you agree with that? Or do you think there is a little bit of a burnout that you can have, touring week in, week out playing disc golf?
Man, yeah, that's a good one. I've been feeling, I think I have to disagree, although that point does make sense. But for me, the burnout isn't so much like I'm exhausted and I can't throw a disc. It's more of like I'm just going through the motions. There's no like commitment really. It's just you're out there, you're just going through a routine, and it just seems boring. And it just seems like, we do this week in and week out. Every week's the same. And towards the middle of the year, I was feeling that. I was really looking forward to Idlewild and the end of the season stretch, because some of my favorite tournaments. And so that's kind of what kept me going these past, couple weeks since Idlewild. But up until Idlewild, my placements were kind of dropping off. And I think that was because of some burnout.
Interesting. Do you think being with that crew that you have, has that really helped kind of keep you, have something else to do other than just going to the course and practicing and then coming home?
Yeah, for sure. Without these guys, it would be just the worst thing ever being out here. So they give me a good thing to come back to and hang out.
Is it ever difficult to kind of have that balance of where maybe, you're like, hey, something felt weird today, I need to go practice this, but they're all like, hey, let's go play mini golf or something? Do you ever find that weird balance of where they're trying to do something cool, but you need to go like take time to practice your game?
Yes, there's always the intention to practice, and then I'll be like, well, what are we doing? And they'll be like, we're going to go see a movie, go play putt-putt. I'm like, all right, that sounds much better.
All right, let's do that instead. What's your favorite thing? What's the favorite thing that you guys do, off the course?
Man, I think I've really enjoyed. We've gone on some hikes. This past week we went to Acadia National Park and just did this crazy hike called Precipice Trail, and you're like literally climbing these iron ladders up the side of a mountain with like a foot between you and death. So
sounds awful.
It was so much fun, Yuli. You would love it. So just stuff like that, like being outside, and all during Worlds we went swimming in the waterfall, and it was just a blast. So stuff outdoors, competitive stuff, board games, things like that.
If you guys were all in Survivor, who would be the first one voted out?
Gavin, for sure.
Gavin, too much of a threat.
Way too much of a threat.
Oh man,
that's hilarious.
All right, so now we got some fan questions for you, Isaac. So I'm done with pretty much all my points that I wanted to talk about, but we did open it up to some fans as well. So again, if these questions are trash, please direct them to the people that asked them, not me. Okay, I had no part in any of these questions. All right, this is from Mark. He says everyone leaves Prodigy after popping off. Will you follow suit?
I don't see that happening. I think we'll have to see at the end of 2024 what the contract offers are like. But as of right now, I'm really liking what I got going with Prodigy.
I mean, you're throwing the crap out of the disc, so that is solid. All right, this is from Mark with a C. The last one was Mark with a K. This is Mark with a C. He says there's a debate in the Atlanta disc golf area right now. Which course do you consider your home course? Some people are going to be very sad, I think, with your answer.
It's definitely Lenora Park.
Lenora Park. There you have it. Hey. All right. The debate has been settled. All right. This is from Noah. He says, I'm curious how being a 2-time major winner will make touring next year different, both physically, like your life on the road, and also mentally. Mm-hmm. So any updates of like what touring is going to look like for you next year?
Yeah, we're thinking of doing Airbnbs instead of vans. We've kind of all, as a group, decided
that's
vans
the way you got to do it.
Kind of suck in the summer. In the summer is just terrible.
You're not doing hotels and vans?
No, it's always vans.
Oh my God. Okay, so you're gonna stick with the van, but now you're going van Airbnb, or are you gonna change into maybe a car that's easier to get around?
Yeah, I think we're gonna be doing a car. I think we're each gonna have our own car potentially. We're still working out the details,
he doesn't even have a license.
Yeah, are you going to help him get his driver's license or what?
I don't know what Gannon's doing. I don't know what he's doing. That's on him.
Could Gannon right now pass a driver's license test?
I think he could get close. Very close.
Like can he parallel
when
park?
He does I seriously doubt it, but I can't even parallel park, so
Wait, you didn't have to parallel park for your license? What state are you from? I gotta make sure I stay far away from that
all
state.
the cones.
Oh, and they're just like, pass this guy. Let's get this guy out of here.
This guy's a future
Oh my
world champ.
gosh.
He's
He's a
good.
future world. He's fine. He's fine. All right. Next one's from Hunter. He wants to know, are you familiar with Trevor Staub?
Yes, my long lost brother.
Oh, that was the secondary question.
Twin
Are you
brother.
guys at all related? Because I have yet to see you guys both in the same room. So
I think we have to be at least somewhat related. I don't know how,
Okay.
I don't know when, but somewhere.
maybe we'll have someone that's listening go through your lineage and see if you guys have some sort of connection there. All right, this question
Yes.
is from Ezra. Did you eat the receipt after your celebration dinner?
That, of course. I mean, doesn't everybody do that?
I've never eaten a receipt before. No. Yuli?
That's like a
No.
customary.
The closest thing
that's
would
what
be
everybody
like
does.
a fortune cookie, where you get like a little paper in your mouth and you freak out real quick and you spit everything out. That's the closest I've ever
Yeah.
gotten. Okay.
Yeah.
Something we need to look into if you're trying to
same
play better
thing.
at disc golf. Eat your
thing.
receipts. Okay, question from we only have 2 more. We're almost done. Oh, you're back? Okay, we're back. Okay, sweet. All right. Just 2 more for you here. This one is from Gavin. He wants to know, walk me through your shot on hole 17 at Brewster round 3. Very specific. Very specific.
Yes. So that one could possibly go down as the worst shot I have ever thrown. It came out about 45 degrees left of where, and I had a dead straight shot to the basket. So 45 degrees left. I turn around before I even like see it, because I know it's that bad. And I get up there and it is like a 1/4 inch over the line inbounds. So it was just terrible. It almost went off the cliff on that left side. But I had this like crazy straddle putt and made the putt. So it went from absolute disaster, worst shot I've ever thrown, to still a decently easy birdie.
Oh my gosh.
But
all right. Well,
it was terrible.
those are some of the breaks that you need to have, though. So, and you capitalize. That's the big thing. You got to capitalize on. All right.
Absolutely.
Weird. Another question from Ezra. A lot of questions from Ezra tonight. How has being a fan of Jane Austen helped you achieve the success you have in disc golf?
That I still am working, because I've put so much hours into Jane Austen. I'm trying to see the correlation between that and disc golf, and I haven't found it yet.
Okay.
So I think I need to spend some more hours reading Pride and Prejudice.
Okay, you gotta dig into that a little bit. I might have to
Yeah.
start reading some Jane Austen.
I would
you a
recommend
big
it.
Jane Austen fan?
No.
That could be our problem. That could be our problem. All right. Well, I'll say this. We talked about it a little bit at the beginning. When James Conrad won his world championship, I was like, all right, maybe a forehand's not that important. Then when you took it down, I think what you're showing right now is just how powerful a good backhand is.
Mm-hmm.
And I think as of right now, I don't know if there's anyone I would have a hard time finding someone that I think has a better control of the angle release, better control of nose angle, better control of just speed, and just the way that you're able to always have the disc kind of do what you want it when it's hitting the ground. And I will say I got to watch you play a handful of holes on Sunday, and it was really, really fun. So if anyone's out there that are planning to go to MVP or the Tour Championship, definitely make sure to stop and watch Isaac play a handful of holes, or maybe the whole round, because you're not only going to learn something, but you're also going to be entertained as well. The pet peeves, Isaac, it got X-nayed, brother. I don't know what to tell you. I'm a man of the people. People were saying, listen, pet peeves are getting old, especially if people are coming back. We don't want to hear people say pet peeves again.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I apologize. Pet peeves are dead. Yuli, I don't know if you want to ask him your question. You might get bombarded by the comments as well.
My question's gone.
Yeah, I think your question. I think it's fresh. I think if we get someone fresh on, then we can maybe bring it back. But that's what the people have said. So we're a man of the people here. But Isaac, do you have anything to say to, we got 3,000 people right here listening right now. Anything to say to your fans out there? Because I'm sure you have a lot tuning in right now.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you guys so much for the support. Thank you guys for buying the archive. I'm loving getting all of the messages, just people sending me videos of them throwing it. And it's so cool to see something that, Prodigy and I worked on and that people just love. So it's really cool. Thank you guys so much for all those messages, and thank you for the support.
Dude, awesome. And I know we're all really excited to kind of see how you finish the season. You are right in the mix. As of right now, you're my number one for player of the year. So we'll see how that all plays out. But as always, Isaac, we appreciate you tuning in. Your 2023 world champion, Isaac Robinson, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for stopping by, man. We appreciate it.
Congrats,
Thanks for having me, guys. Always a pleasure.
Yeah. All right, brother. Have a good night.
You too.
All right. There he is. My goodness, Yuli. Wow. He has gotten way better too on the mic. I will say that. Like he's got a lot more swagger now, and I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing for us.
Chilling. Yeah, he's just chilling on there, ain't he? He's comfortable.
Dude, he's feeling it right now, and he should be, man. He should be. He's at the point, I think, where if he goes out and plays his best disc golf, it is tough for anyone to beat him. That's just where he's at right now. His top game is just he doesn't falter. He doesn't falter.
I mean, he's my favorite right now for if he gets the lead in the final round, like good luck. Like I would not take anybody else with the lead besides Isaac right now.
He's not a bad pick. He's not a bad pick at all. All right, let's run through some where are we going here? Did I lose it already? No, it's back here. We're gonna run through.
I wanted to answer your question. I didn't get to answer.
Oh yeah, go for it.
The question about how did you word it about aging? Read.
Oh no,
ask me that one again.
It was the does hold on, let me find it. It was
because I think I have a good answer for that.
I'm blanking on what the name is. Burnout. Is there such thing as burnout in disc golf? That's what it was.
Oh, so it was just like a mental burnout. It wasn't more physical.
Like, I think it would have to be mental burnout in disc golf, not physical, because we don't taper. So it's not like you can.
Yep.
I mean, I guess you could theoretically go out and play 8 hours every single day, and then you would physically burn out.
No, okay, yeah.
I don't think anyone's doing that. So
no.
Okay, so let's run through a little bit of some of the storylines that went down during the MPO action at Worlds. We just got done talking to him. Isaac ends up winning, shooting 10 under the final round, and best out AB, who ended up solo second. Very good finish by AB. I will say this. I was able to watch his card finish, and it was a nice little redemption for AB. Nice little redemption. They both AB and Eagle coming down the stretch, they were doing everything they possibly could to not make mistakes. AB was in a weird spot because he was a little bit further back than Eagle was. So AB actually played the last, 6 holes? No, last 7 holes, 7 under par. So AB really kind of did everything that he could, finishing the final round at 12 under. And I guess you could almost say Eagle did the same, finishing the final round at 13 under. And even Matty O shot 13 under the final round. That just proves how important those rounds at Brewster were, that Isaac was able to get that lead going into it.
What was crazy is Eagle McMahon playing his last 2 rounds, 27 under par.
Insane. Absolutely insane, dude. He missed
7 holes in 2 rounds.
He couldn't really make any mistakes, right? Like when you're in that position and you have Isaac behind you, you just literally have to. Sorry. Yeah, you just have to birdie everything. AB ended up missing a makeable birdie putt on 14. Eagle ended up missing the gap on 15. Wasn't able to birdie that hole, and then ended up going OB on 16 as well and he ended up saving par. But both those guys need to go pretty much perfect, like but even then, I don't know if things would have changed. Isaac played kind of like he had the lead at the end. He didn't look like he was really pressing too much. Does he bogey the final round if he needed to take a par? Probably not. Right. He kind of just chipped up and took a bogey there because why have stress out on a putt when you've got a lead like that? So, but with AB, I think this was a big moment because he squashed some demons that he had.
Yeah.
Flashback to the last major, right? Hole 16, absolutely nightmare, just loses it and drops from, I completely forgot, man. He dropped to like 7th or 8th or something.
It was 7th place. Yeah.
7th. He steps up to hole 18. He's in a tie with Eagle and Matty O. They're all in the fairway. Matty O goes OB. Eagle goes OB. He steps up, parks it. Forehand. Yep. Almost like a very identical 270-foot shot, very identical, parks it and gets the solo second. So massive kind of, breaking down the demons, if you will, right? Like, what does that do for a player?
I mean, it's huge. The one thing that I look at with AB going down the stretches of tournaments, which we've seen the last like 4 years, if you want to break down his game, is the putter is the thing that falls apart. And watching him close this year at the World Championships, I mean, it's hole 16 at the European Open. I feel like that's an anomaly. Like, that's just a tough hole. You're not going to see a lot of those holes end up shaping like a tournament, kind of like that one did. That's a very rare thing, except for USDGC and stuff like that. It's a completely different shot though. Is watching him, and the reason I say this is because watching him finish making the putts that he does, he has so many opportunities to win tournaments.
Yeah,
that's been the bugaboo, is closing with those 25 to 30 footers. I saw him do that. He's already a great thrower of the disc, and that's why I don't worry about something like that happening to where he's just all of a sudden flaring left and right out of bounds. He can completely shorten a course up with his power. It's making those putts down the stretch that you really got to look at. I mean, you look at even Isaac under pressure. That's why he wins tournaments. Of course, he's throwing great shots. He's not getting into trouble, but you still got to knock down 2, 3, 4, 5 outside of 30 feet in the final round. You have to do that because other people are. You see the 13 unders coming in. Like, if Isaac doesn't make those putts, and he gets a little nervous, all of a sudden it's a completely different story coming down the stretch. And that's what I like seeing different about AB. He has a confidence with the putter right now. And I think moving forward, that's going to be the thing that gets him over the hump.
Yeah. Also, while his group was putting out on hole 18, they had on the, they were broadcasting the Disc Golf Network live stream on the big TV that was by the clubhouse that was facing hole 18. And they're broadcasting his, 10 cup situation on 16.
No.
While that his group is putting out on 18. That's what they're showing at the time. And so, like, I don't know. I didn't talk to him to see if like he saw that or whatnot, but I did. We actually ended up bumping into each other at a restaurant later that night. His whole family was there. He was there with his girlfriend and everything, and they all looked very, very excited. So I think he ended his Worlds on a good note. Obviously, if you play that well down the stretch, you probably are very happy with how you finished. But that was a funny little moment. Quick shout out to Grady Shue. I probably not where he wanted to end up after how hot he came out, right? When he finished his round 2, he was in the lead. He was the outright leader of the World Championship. And, he ends up falling to 17th, but played great the final round to move up some spots, shot 10 under on Fox. It just seemed like he didn't really have the greatest game plan or whatnot, or didn't play that well at Brewster. Fox, it seemed like he played great.
Yeah,
he shredded. So, shout out to Grady Shue. For a moment there, some people were thinking like it was going to be like a shoe miracle, right? You had Paige Shue win it last time. Grady Shue wins it this time. That would have been an incredible story if it ended up happening. Let's talk a little bit about Evan Scott here. Evan Scott's someone that, you know, he is young enough to where I don't know how much is left in the tank as far as can he get the distance to be able to compete at some of these other courses. Because I think what is difference between Evan and Isaac is I think the distance. Like Isaac can throw far enough, like you said, to birdie these holes, where we have seen Evan be very successful on shorter courses. And let's be real, these courses at Fox and Brewster are on the shorter side.
Yeah.
These are some of the shorter courses that we play all season. And, you know, that would be my big question mark with Evan is like, is he able to turn it up a notch? Because we've seen it, you know, going in solo second, going to the final round of the World Championship, you don't get there by accident. And we've seen him at other tournaments pop off. He ended up winning, even though it was the round had finished, he was probably going to win the Zootown Open anyways. And then I think he even had a good finish at the Cascade Challenge. So what's your take on Evan? Do you think he'll be able to manage to figure out how to throw a little bit farther, get a little more distance?
I'd like to think so. I mean, I feel like we're in a generation where young players like that, they should push, but you know, I like to compare a lot of disc golf to golf, and when I go back to people in traditional golf kind of switching their game plan to add like miles per hour on their swings, sometimes it doesn't work out very well for them. You know, I think of like a Luke Donald, who was #1 player in the world, and he tried to switch his swing, and it absolutely ended up it didn't end his career, but we haven't seen him at the top for a very, very long time. And so I worry that maybe a swing change could hurt people. I think that's where disc golf is kind of behind a little bit, because we don't have coaches and we don't have like form analysis to really put kids on a path to be like, okay, this is a safe way to change your swing. Because changing your swing in disc golf is a really tough thing to do. You know, like how are you going to gain distance? Like what we got to tell people right now, we have a few little tricks here and there, but you know, for the longest time, we would tell people like, hey, just go and throw as hard as you can over and over and over again in the field. Like, and that's not something that I want players right now to do, because I'm not sure that that's the answer. I'm hoping in the next few years we come up with some proper form analysis to where we can really tell people, okay, these are the positions you get into in order to enhance your swing and gain miles per hour on that swing. And so it's a really tough question, because he can compete at certain courses, and sometimes that's just the reality of it. Like, you're good on some courses and some courses you're not, you know? So I don't know. I would like to think, yes, we all should try to be gaining distance, because the courses are getting longer, but at the same time, like at what cost, you know?
Yeah. And he was honestly, you look at where he ended up finishing. He finished at tied for 15th, 1 under for the round. Obviously not going to get it done out at Fox with everyone shooting as well as they did out there, but he started well, 4 through 4. He buried the first 4 holes and then got into some trouble on hole 5, which is easy to do. Ends up going OB left. That green is one of the more trickier greens on Fox, hits the cage, rolls OB, misses the putt, takes a double. And then on 7, which is the longer hole, right? 7's a long par 5, gets into some trouble there, doubles that hole, and then takes a bogey on hole 10, takes a bogey on hole 13, and then a bogey on 16 and 18. And then there you go. That kind of, you know, I think that the 2 doubles early for sure derailed him a little bit, and he was just behind the 8 ball. If you're, you know, 1 under through 7 at Fox, you're in a world of hurt. So that's probably got to be tough for him to deal with, but that's someone that's a name to remember for next year, and even for these tournaments coming up, because the kid's got a lot of skills and got a lot of talent.
Always said, I feel like he's like the barrier. Like, he's as far as you can throw. He has the least amount of distance. Like, he's the guardian of. Like, when I look at him, I think of like Matt Bell Like Matt Bell's an amazing putter. Got a great sidearm. He can hit fairways, and you get them on shorter courses, and they're just going to, absolutely throw down some good scores. I think he is like, that's the minimum you can throw and hold a tour card and compete for wins. I think that's the minimum.
That's a good point.
I also think, like, let me gather my thoughts here. I also think the one thing that like hinders the shorter players that I don't think gets talked about enough is, listen, most of the time we're playing, it's windy, and power is a big time benefit
For sure.
in the wind.
Yep.
Huge. Luckily at this course this last week, we didn't see a lot of wind. There was a little bit here and there. There were some windy days, but like the final round, we didn't see any wind. And that's when like a shorter player should be able to score, because now you're able to stretch the disc flight out to a farther distance with comfort. And I don't think we talk about that very often in disc golf, is how you have to have power in order to be able to, compete on these courses. You go to Emporia in practice, let's say it's calm, you can score out there. Like I can score out there. As soon as it gets windy, my disc selection changes and I get hindered a good 100 to 150 foot on some shots. You know what I mean? Because I'm having to keep that disc in bounds. And so those are the things that like a shorter player has to worry about that I don't think gets talked about enough. It's not just the fact that they're long holes. It's the fact that when it gets windy, those holes get actually longer. Yeah,
it's a very good point. And you can't necessarily just move up to a more overstable disc that you can control into the fairway. Chris Dickerson, we've got this clip that I kind of want to run here. Had some really, really bad breaks for him. Unfortunately, I think this was in the second to last round. I believe this was on the fourth round. This was on the par 5, hole 12. Throws what you would consider a good shot, if not a great shot, and just takes an awful reaction off of the planter, or whatever you want to say. I will say I do like this design. My biggest thing that I like about this design, and I don't know if I like it for holes like this where it's just flat, but I like that design around the basket to prohibit rollaways, because we just talked about the Evan Scott rollaway. Rollaways, and some people might disagree here, but rollaways to me are one of the flukiest things that we have in disc golf. You can have two people miss a putt into the cage, and one decides to hit the ground a certain way and roll 60 feet, and then another one doesn't. To me, I just think that's a fluky thing, and I think we should try to eliminate as much of the flukiness as we can. So to me, I think if you hit the cage and you miss a bad putt, having something around that would prohibit the rollaway, but it wouldn't stop air balls, right? Like if you air ball and throw like a really bad putt and don't hit anything, then that's just gone. But what are your thoughts on like trying to find a way to prohibit rollaways?
Yeah, I think one of the things is we put a lot of greens on hillsides, and that's where you're getting the rollaways from.
But you kind of need to, right? Like that's the only way to make putting difficult.
It really is. And so my biggest pet peeve is when there's out of bounds on a green with a hill. Like I seriously think that's ridiculous to be able to, because the fact of the matter is, if you miss a putt, you should get penalized. But what about spit outs? That's still a thing that happens in the game. And even though I defend like having good touch into a basket, especially on hills when it gets windy, you're putting upward, and that's when you're completely at the wind's discretion. If you hit center, that thing can blow out. And if there's out of bounds behind you and that rolls out of bounds, that is not fair. That's probably a 3-stroke swing right there off of just complete garbage luck. And so I like toy back and forth with it, because I do think once you get into a certain range, you should be able to make putts. But at the same time, I think that our green system is absolutely hilarious. Like, I think it's the silliest thing in our game right now. And I want to make a big push somehow to change our green system, because if you land on a hillside, on a high rise, and you have a 30-footer up the hill playing 45, you did not hit the green, in my opinion. That's like a trick shot. That's like a chip. I think that the greens need to be shaped completely different for each green. I think that sometimes you land, like, for example, hole 17 at Brewster Ridge. I landed in a spot deep of the basket with 0 putt. I was 29 feet. It was one of my only missed putts. I missed 2 putts in the circle the whole week. That was one of them. But I had no putt. To me, that's a trick shot. That's a chip. I didn't hit the green. I don't deserve a green hit, and I definitely don't deserve a missed putt because there was no way to make it. So is this more of a
statistics thing? You want this for more statistic purposes?
Exactly. I think that our statistics are very flawed because of our green system. I think sometimes you could throw it to 40 feet and actually hit the green before you throw it to 12 feet and have no putt behind 33 cactus and a big old furry tree or something. You know what I mean? To where you're doing a scuba over the tree. That's not a putt. That's a chip. Like, you're still approaching. You're trying to have touch coming into the green. You're trying to figure out how to make up for the mistake that you've made.
I don't hate that idea at all.
I really want to see that change, because a lot of times on tour, you'll throw it to 40 feet on purpose and you don't get a green hit. And let's say you make that, then you just get a circle 2 putt made. Like, I don't think there should be circle 2, and I don't think there should be circle 1. I think there should be fairway. Maybe we have a fringe, and maybe we have a green, and the greens should be all different shapes.
I'm always down. I'm always down with a little fringe action, man. All right. Paul McBeth, let's jump into this. Paul McBeth is done for the year. He made that announcement, I believe, in one of the interviews that he did, stating that Worlds was going to be his last tournament of the season. He's going to take a longer off season to deal with his injury. So he is done, and his record his streak, if you will, is also done. And we can probably just put this record streak, whatever you want to call it, in the books, because I do not think it will be broken. The run that he had at Worlds, for those that don't know, he finished first or second 10 years in a row at Worlds.
Which is absolutely mine.
Yes. I mean, you can say what you want about the competition nowadays being way, way stiffer, but the fact of being 1 or 2 at a tournament for 10 years in a row, very, very tough to do.
Yeah.
And honestly, he wasn't really that out of it at this tournament. He was still kind of in the mix. He kind of shot himself in the foot a little bit. But there were still people that had hope going into it that, he could just turn it on and have some incredible rounds and get right back into the mix. He
really could have. He really could have.
For sure. He ended up finishing in 13th and had probably the worst round of his tournament, shooting 6 under the final day. So, he shoots 4 shots better. He finishes in tied for 9th, right? Or I guess tied for 10th and gets in the top 10. Shout out to Paul, though. 10 in a row, finishing first or second. That is one that at least on the MPO side, I'll say, let me preface that, because we have Kristen Tatar to talk about here in a second. At least on the MPO side, I don't foresee anyone being able to do that. So, did you see the Nate Sexton ace?
I did.
Okay. We have the clip of that if we want to run it here while we talk about it. Hole 15. I don't know what was going on with hole 15, but hole 15 decided to be the ace hole of the tournament. Nate Sexton taking it down. I believe this was the final round with a nice little skip with his Firebird, I believe, carding the 1 coming after. I think it was a double bogey. So a nice way to kind of get rid of those overstrokes, if you will, on the hole before. Funny story about that, though, is I was on hole 16 at the time, really bad backup on hole 16. And so we're just kind of chilling in the fairway, and right next to us is Evan Scott and his card, and he tees off first. and a bunch of people were on the tee pad on hole 16 as well, but they're all kind of chit chatting, whatnot. And the only person that's watching is the spotter on hole 15. And he throws the shot, and I'm watching it. He throws the shot, goes skip, chains, and the spotter, like, because there's so many people around him, I don't think he like crazy celebrated. He just kind of like clapped. And the players on hole 16 didn't know what was going on because they weren't watching. Evan just goes, walks right back to the bench and sits down. And the next guy walks immediately up on the tee pad. And I'm just like, I can't do anything. He has no idea that he aced the hole, but I can't say something because this next guy's on the tee pad. All the guys are slowly finding out on hole 16 that he's aced, but they see the guy on the tee pad. So no one's like really, freaking out. And then the guy throws his shot and I go, Evan, he looks at me. I'm like, that went in. You got a one. That's an ace. And then he kind of is like, I don't know if he heard me or not, but he kind of like gave me a thumbs up, and then that was it. So he was like,
there.
cool.
I was there actually.
Were you on the tee? Where were you?
I was on the backup, and I saw that whole thing happen exactly the way you explained it. It was so bizarre.
It was the weirdest ace I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Did he end up celebrating at all when he got up there?
Like he was smiling, and the crowd finally gave him a cheer because I was like, yeah, like, hey, let's give him a little cheer, and he got a little cheer. And then I was like, I bet you he like bogeyed the hole before, and so he wasn't that happy. But then I looked at it, and he sandwiched like 2 birdies in between the ace, and then he birdied 16 and 17 afterwards, and he just had no emotion. It was pretty bizarre, dude.
No, it was definitely by far the weirdest ace I ever experienced, because normally it's just like it's an over exaggeration, and people are going nuts. But there you have it. So 2 aces on that hole. Luke Humphreys also had an ace on, I think, hole 16 at Brewster. So shout out to those guys all getting aces at Worlds. Probably pretty dope accomplishment to have. All right. I do want to talk
AJ Carey hit 17 as well.
Oh, he did. Yeah, that was when he shot 13 under. Yeah. So shout out to AJ Carey, 13 under at Fox with the ace on 17. So many aces. Holy smokes. Matteo, update on Matteo. We are going to try to get Matteo. Do you want to explain do you want to say what Matteo told you about why he's not with us here tonight?
He had a skins match on Monday, and then he may have celebrated a little bit on Tuesday, and he said he wasn't down for today, but he wants to come on next week.
Yes.
So
I think we're doing it in person.
Yeah, hopefully at MVP we can get a nice I want a long interview in person with Matteo. I think that's going to be, you use the word electric, and I think that hits the nail right on the head. I mean,
I think we're doing a Kristen Tataris situation. I think we'll have 2 episodes come out. We'll have Matteo's interview that will be separate, and then we'll have our normal Tour Life podcast, normal programming as well. But we'll sit down and have a Matteo one, because man, talk about a career he's had. Is he the best? Because it might be you, Yuli. So I know you probably would be best at telling me. Does he have the best anti-flex putt?
I think without a doubt right now. I mean, he's just done it for so long, and it's just like he's like the perfect example of just being able to be unique and making it work. Like, he is so old school in the way that he throws and the way that he putts, and he just makes it his own, and his flair for the crowd. And one of the things I really love about him is he's just him. You know, he's never changed ever since the day I met that guy. But no, he's a great putter. I mean, go if you haven't watched the
his putt on 16, dude.
Yeah, highlights at
the
Worlds, like putt on 16, and then he gets a pretty bad roll away on 18. Eagle makes it in his eyeball to take, third place, and then he has to make, like, it looked like about a 45-footer up the hill, and he just makes it to tie for third place. I mean, that's just what he does, though. He's a Worlds guy. He made the final 9. I think he took second in 2005, and it's 2024, and he takes third place.
He's been doing it for so long, and he's one of the few guys. There's not that many of them, right? There's not that many guys that have been at the highest level. We've seen so many of the big names back in the day kind of have fallen off with how difficult the tour has gotten. But he's been one of the few to be kind of as consistent as he has been.
One of his best years ever this year.
Yeah.
Ever.
Insane. That guy is going to win. Okay.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people are asking, when is it going to happen? When is it going to happen? He puts himself in so many positions. He's going to get one of these days, and it will be an absolute electric interview, I'm sure, once it's done. Yuli, I had no idea that you dabbled in drawing. You never told me that you were an artist.
Excuse me?
I never knew you were an artist.
I do not draw. I'm not a drawer.
Oh, this wasn't you.
I can't see.
Okay, you can't
my
see.
screen is completely frozen.
Well, you know what I'm talking about. This was a talked about situation, I guess you could say, with the drawings that I say drawing. I guess it's drawing the artwork, if you will, that Jomez put out. I don't know what happened.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what happened. But there was these will be talked about for a while, I think, and hopefully these will never die. Hopefully people will bring these back, because some of these photos, I don't even know who is the last one. Juliana Korver, is that Juliana Korver? Is that who that is?
Gotta be. I can't see it right now. Let me.
I know. Is one of them Nate Doss?
I'm gonna come back in. I'm gonna go out and come back in so I can check.
Okay, that's fine. He's gonna come back. I don't know what these these photos were. These see, now I can't. Now I'm worried about saying drawing, because everyone was just lighting me up in the comments saying that I'm not saying it right. But yes, these were interesting pieces, I would say. Okay, who's the guy in the gray shirt?
Let me see.
Throw the guy in the gray shirt up. That's Paige. Yeah.
That? Are you kidding? That's Ken Climo, dude.
That's Ken Climo?
Yeah.
Bro, I thought that might have been Nate Doss.
No, that's Ken Climo.
Oh my gosh, man. I don't know. Okay. Yeah.
If you watch the whole video, though, I believe they go from real life to the drawings. So you can see the transition.
Okay. I don't know if I want to see it.
I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I thought it was awesome.
Some people did. Some people got a kick out of it.
I think
if anything, it was entertaining one way or the other.
Yes.
So there you have that. Let's talk real quick before we go into FPO. We need to make a change. There needs to be a change. I know it looks like something might be in the works, but I'm just going to emphasize, if you make the cut, you should not have to be worrying about cashing. If you make the cut, you should cash. And that's the end of it. There were several players that ended up making the cut and did not cash because of how many ended up getting into the final day. And I just think that is one thing that needs to be addressed and needs to be figured out. But man, that's just brutal, man. You show up, you play, and then you don't cash. I don't like it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think there should be a reserve fund or something in there to where more people make the cut, more people get paid.
Yeah. All right. So hopefully that is something that gets addressed. All right, let's switch over to FPO now. This was something that, first, I want to get your opinion on this, because again, I will defer to you and say that I might be a little ignorant here, and I might be a little bit, recency bias, if you will. But when I was watching FPO, the final round, I was doing a companion stream on YouTube, and we had a good conversation going on in the chat. I said that Kristen Tatar is the greatest FPO player of all time. And I said, I don't think it's close. Am I way off, or am I on par here?
I think you're off. I think you're off because of, like, we've seen this before. So we've seen dominance like this before in Paige Pierce.
Okay, now let me
let me finish.
All right.
Let me finish.
All right.
Kristen is winning a lot of tournaments, and she's winning by a lot of strokes. Paige Pierce has won more tournaments and won by a lot of strokes and lots of world championship. And she made the division look like she just dominated, right? And that's what Kristen is doing right now. With these types of players, generational talent, you will speculate now, but it's all hogwash until we can talk about this in 6 years. And then we can be like, we can start comparing, okay, what did Paige Pierce do? What does Kristen do? Is she the best player right now? Yeah, that's not a debate. That is not a debate, and there's no argument. Now, is she the best to ever do it? We have to wait and see, because we don't know what the future is going to be. I've heard this about Ricky Wysocki when he started winning his world championships. Okay, now Paul's done. We've seen how good Paul was for a very long time, and the only time somebody's going to be able to challenge that is decades from now. It's going to take a lot of time. Now, we don't know what the talent level is going to be in the FPO field moving forward. We don't know if we're going to see an influx of FPO players come in and challenge her in the next 2 years, because she's pushing the bar higher. I know there would be no Kristen Tatar without Paige Pierce. I know that wouldn't be a thing, because the level of play would be down. And so let's be patient, and let's, we're going to hopefully be doing this podcast for a long time, and we'll be able to look at this episode and in 6 years be like,
see where we're at.
She was better than we even thought. Or now, more talent comes up and challenges it, and then the statistics get a little wishy-washy. We don't know. But Paige Pierce, the things that she did for as long as she did it, I'm telling you, bro, it was really good.
Now, fair point. What you said is a fair point. If you're looking strictly at accolades and you're looking at longevity, I agree with you. I think matching Kristen to Paige, they can't be compared. When I said the greatest of all time, what I mean by that is mine's more of a caveat right now of not simply just accolades of who's done it the most, the longest. Mine was simply like the best. I guess maybe that's the difference between the GOAT and the best argument, right? Is maybe the GOAT is encompassing the entire career, where maybe that isn't the correct terminology I should use. When I watched her play, and I've watched a lot of FPO, so I feel like I have a decent grip on things. Her skill level, I think, is higher than anyone that has ever played FPO. I don't think I think where she plays, when she plays her best, I don't think anyone can beat her right now. Now, obviously, I agree with you. That can change 3 years from now, 4 years from now, 5 years from now. I think that can change. But watching her game right now, I don't think there was anyone that could compete with her. She has too much of a complete game. Her game is way too complete.
It's really good. I think the sidearm's what separates her from everybody, and I think that has to do a lot with the courses that they play as well. I really do. I think that the courses that they're playing are really set up for the distance that she has both ways. It's a perfect kind of scenario. Watching Paige back in the day, though, my only pushback is I think Paige, when she was playing her best, was a better putter than Kristen. She made it from longer.
From circle two, for sure. Yeah, yes, I would agree with that.
She was like absolutely dynamic from the circle, and it wasn't even close. Anybody else in the division. Valerie Jenkins was a great putter in the circle, but Paige was the first that I ever saw bring that distance out. And that's why she dominated for so long.
Her jump putt was insane. Yeah.
Yeah. She also threw it really far. She threw it farther than Kristen does. And she threw it accurately for a couple of years to where it was like some of the round, like I think she played the USCGC in one of the setups and she was shooting like 65s out there. Those are good scores, man. I don't know. Hard for me to say. Like I said, I think one of the things when I watch Kristen, yes, complete package, absolutely never seen anything like it. But the complete package doesn't necessarily lead you to winning crazy big tournaments all the time. And I think that the course design is a perfect storm for the FPO division with the way that Kristen is playing. That's what I really think. Imagine this. If you lengthen those, if they play on
the MPO layout,
the MPO layout, I think it's a lot closer. There's more trouble. I think staying in bounds, it completely changes a lot of things. I still think she has a huge edge with being able to attack the basket, both backhand and sidearm. And she's out putting everybody besides Owen. You know, she's just consistently making 25 to 30 footers. But if you lengthen those courses out, I think the field gets closer.
For the top throwers, for sure.
I think.
Yes, I would agree with you for sure. And we've seen that at some events too, right? Some events that they don't necessarily put in an FPO layout or they don't really have the FPO layout in mind. Those are the ones that we kind of see a little bit more of a jumbled leaderboard at the top because so many holes aren't birdieable. And also you have some holes that are only birdieable by a handful of the players on tour. So yeah, I agree with you. Now, Kristen is the first ever to go back-to-back at Worlds since Valerie Jenkins did it in 2009. So it's been a while. Even though Paige had all those world championships, she never won one back-to-back. She kind of alternated there for a little bit. And this kind of snuck up on me. She's now won 4 consecutive majors. I don't know how that just went under the rug.
Right. I saw that stat too, and I was like, wait, nobody's gotten one?
No.
And they haven't.
No. And she has the chance of kind of doing the Grand Slam this year as well, which would be a stamp to finish her season off.
That would be interesting. How long have they been making FPO layouts? I'm curious to see how long that's been happening.
Yeah, I don't know.
It hasn't been that long, I don't think. Maybe I would be surprised if it's been for the last 5 years, honestly.
Yeah,
it's a shorter time than that.
I wouldn't know other than just hearing from what FPO players have told me of
like
where
they've always had like a shorter tee pad here and a shorter tee pad there, here and there, but never now they're having
like an actual course design for them.
Yeah, exactly.
Different baskets. They're playing par 4s and we're playing par 3s and whatnot. So yeah, it's definitely changing. These were some quotes that she said after her round. She said, "I might be struggling, but I'm not failing." If you kind of dig into a little bit in a nice way, she said, basically, I had a bad tournament, but I was still able to fight through it. So this was not her at her best. And she was able to still win by 6 shots. And that's with taking, it wasn't really close. You know, she ended up playing the last 6 holes, 3 over par. So she kind of just coasted in at the end, taking a double in the final hole when it didn't matter. She laid up, I believe, twice on that hole. But that was just her being like, yeah, I just didn't play that great, but I was able to make it through. Yeah. If Worlds continues to be 5 rounds, I don't think anyone that's currently playing on tour can beat her.
No, not with the way that the courses are set up.
Yeah, as of right now, like obviously stuff can change, but as of right now, if everything stayed the same, I don't think she's ever losing a 5-round tournament. She also went on to said, "I'm very lucky to have found my passion. I don't think every person finds it in their lifetime, but I actually found something that I am in love with, and that passion fuels my fire on the course.
I think
a
everybody
sick
loves
quote.
winning.
That's a slick quote. Yeah.
And if we could all just win every single time, I think we'd all say that. I'm just kidding. That's a great. And in saying those things, listen, Kristen is the best player. I set the line at 10 before the tournament started. I said she's going to, like, that would be a good betting line is 10 strokes. There's nobody else that you're going to say that with in a lot of sports, period, right now. That's how good she is.
Yeah. And did we talk about, we're going to do that at the end. Okay. She ended up having her daughter there to kind of celebrate and embrace her at the very end, which was nice to see, and was able to just take it down and not super close towards the end, but she was able to just maintain her lead throughout the entire tournament. Very, very impressive stuff on Kristen's part. And the only person that was really able to challenge her was Missy Gannon. And I will say this, I think Missy Gannon's mindset when we had her on the show and how she was talking about it, I think if anyone has the potential to figure out their game and to push their game, to push Kristen, it's Missy. Missy right now, for me, is the front runner because she never really did back down. If you go and watch that final round, the nerves definitely got to her. You know, her first shot, she gets lucky, hits the tree, falls in bounds, definitely was going OB. Her second shot basically throws the same way, just not committed. It does end up going OB left, so she takes a bogey on the first hole, then takes a bogey on hole 4. She got stuck behind the bush and tried to throw a big turnover shot that just turned way too much and into the OB and takes a bogey there. And at that moment in time, you know, she loses. I think she was down 5 going into the final round. She loses 3 strokes in the first 5 holes to Kristen. It's an 8-shot lead. You're thinking, all right, it's over, right? She proceeds to birdie the next 5 holes.
Yeah.
You know, she fights and claws. And there was a moment in there where I think it was like hole 10, I believe, that she gets her 5th birdie and Kristen misses a putt. And I'm like, all right, hold on a second. Let's see what happens here. And then Kristen ends up taking 2 more strokes on her over the next 3 holes. And that was just too much. So, but I will say, like, that was fun to watch.
Sorry to interrupt you, but I think it's important. The 4th round going into 18, I believe Missy double bogeyed, and that gave Kristen the 5-stroke lead.
Yes,
I think it was within 2 shots going into 18. So it was almost very close going into the final round.
Mm-hmm.
Ended up not happening, but I was surprised that somebody was so close.
Yeah. European women. We got to talk about the European women. Obviously, Kristen Tatar at the top. But Evelina and Henna had a great showing at this tournament. Evelina taking 4th place, tied with Henna taking 4th place. And then sitting at 6th place, you have Silva. And Silva's one of those players that I've talked about Silva of when I watch her putt, she's got a scary good putter. And I haven't seen it long enough to see, like, to kind of gauge it on where she stands as far as own goes with putting. But she is someone to keep an eye out on her, because she was the one that was pushing Kristen at the European Open. And here she kind of had not the greatest first 4 rounds, if that is a thing. But she ends up finishing her final round shooting 7 under. And you know, the what ifs I'm sure she has of, like, man, what if I was able to put it together a little bit better? I'm trying to see where let's see here. Round 1, she shot 1 under. Round 2, she shot even. Round 3, she shot 3 over. Round 4, she shot 3 under. So yeah, she just kind of had 2 okay rounds and then 2 bad rounds. But she's someone that I will say keep an eye out for Silva, because she's been playing really, really well lately. And then you also have Lucky finishing in a tie for 7. So you end up having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Europeans in the top 7 and top 10.
Yeah,
man, we better hope that the President's Cup do not extend how many women play, because that is a scary thing. I have a little bit more to talk about with Lucky, actually. So I've got a clip. If Silas can roll the clip now. She makes this crazy putt on hole 18. Okay. And this putt actually mattered quite a bit, because by making this putt, it kept her in a tie for 7. Had she missed that putt, she would have dropped all the way to 10th place. And, who knows? You airball that putt, and now all of a sudden you might even, start really crumbling there. But she's very emotional at the end. And I actually messaged her on Instagram asking her, what was the emotion like going through on 18 when you did that? And she basically came back and said it was a combination of feeling being finally done after mentally trying to be strong after a rough round, and also knowing I got a top 10 at Worlds. I was happy about my tournament, so that definitely affected it. This was the highest ever placed Norwegian finish at a world championship. And for all those listening, her contract is up at the end of the year. So top 10 finish for Lucky, and good on her. Another shout out to Allie Smith. Allie Smith was, we'll talk about the commentary here in a second, because that clip went big as well. But the one that went more viral and got more views, this one here, hole 8.
Let's pop over here and see what just happened.
Not. Ali Smith also carding an ace at the World Championship with this beautiful turnover backhand on hole 8. Incredible. Also shows off a little bit of the cardio here, Yuli.
Yes.
Running the whole way.
Never stops.
Multiple fist pumps.
Fist pumps. Yeah. I feel like there was like a time where she was like, okay, I'm going to throw a couple extra fist pumps because this is the longest run of my life. But I mean, electric, man.
Yeah,
that was an amazing shot.
What a shot there by Allie. Now let's actually jump to the commentary part. And I don't know if you saw this on Twitter, Yuli, or not, but this was a clip that was sent to me, and a couple people, wanting to get my take on it. Now, I don't know if we can actually play the audio to where you can listen, but I can kind of talk about it a little bit. Essentially, my tweet was, is FPO commentary handled with kids' gloves? Are we a little bit too nice? Are we a little bit too afraid of calling a bad shot a bad shot? Are we a little bit too afraid of just stating exactly what's going on? Because when I watched this clip and listened to it, it really kind of felt like Zoe was almost explaining how to throw a skip shot. So she never once said it was intentional. So I'll give her, I'll say that. It never once was like, hey, she was trying to skip it. But she also never once said it was unintentional. She never once said it was bad. In fact, there was multiple times where she said the word perfect, of like, it perfectly hits the ground. It perfectly skips. It had the perfect angle. And that to me, I think is something that we see sometimes on the MPO side as well. But what is your take on commentary? Do you feel like it's too nice sometimes? And maybe people are afraid of hurting people's feelings?
I do. I really do. I think it's okay to be a bit critical of shots. And that's something that we don't see a lot of. I not only think it should be, or people think it's critical, or you should be critical with shots. I think it's necessary. And what that is I think that the commentary sometimes doesn't understand certain gameplay for that particular player is one of the things. Even sometimes if I get a new player on, like, let's say Jomez, it's my job to do a little research and see how this person attacks with what angles. Now, me being a color commentator, like, I can drift around those things and talk about flights and different things like that instead of like what's actually going on with this person. I would love to see more critical thought processes of like understanding, like, listen, that shot was not intentional. Like, it wasn't. That's a good break.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to say that. It's okay to say that she got away with one. It's also okay to, you know, and one of the things that's unfortunate with the FPO coverage is some things are really hard to watch. Like, they have to kind of skirt around the edges with certain things that happen in the FPO division, like, let's say, putting. There's certain situations where you'll see a 5-putt. That is not uncommon, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
How do you commentate on something like that? Because in professional sports, that's not something that happens often. And so it's not like something that you see and it is the normal thing for you to be like, oh yeah, well, this is just something that happens sometimes. Like, that isn't. And you have to skate around that because it's unfortunate because they're friends almost, and it's like that's so embarrassing for the player. You almost don't want to shed more light on what's happening. You know what I'm saying? And that's tough. And that's tough for me because the commentator should be able to just be like, this is just something that, you know, and unfortunately that's what happens right now with like, you're going to see a lot of really bad shots sometimes on MPO and FPO, but more on the FPO division because of this reason right now. There's a big difference between a 1035 rated professional disc golfer and a 960 rated professional disc golfer. There is a big difference, and you have to understand.
You can't sugarcoat stuff, though.
No, but it's got it. You also have to be able to commentate on that. So, is it different? You get. So my point is it different? Is commentating for an FPO round, what is the style that needs to be there? What kind of style is that? I don't know. I've never commentated on an FPO round. I think it would be pretty difficult because of the drastic differences between MPO and FPO. I think it's important, and the way you get around that is I think it's really important that the commentator needs to know the gameplay, know the styles of play, know their ceiling, like know what a 960 rated player's ceiling is and what are they able to do, because a shot that goes into the ground and skips and they get lucky, it's a pretty bad shot. They get away with it. But that's probably something that happens often for a 960 rated player.
Yeah,
because of how they play.
But instead of explaining, because I have a tutorial on YouTube of how to throw a skip shot. So if you want to know how to throw a skip shot, you can literally Google how to throw a skip shot and my video will pop up. In that situation, Zoe was explaining why the shot worked, explaining how it skipped.
Yes.
I don't think that's useful. Right. I think the better explanation would be like, why did it go into the ground? Why did she early release it low? Why are these things happening? Talk about the pressure, all those things. And then you go on to, let's talk about putting. The audience is not dumb. That's the big problem. I think right now with disc golf, a lot of the people that are tuning in to watch, they're not dumb. So when you say that, like when Evelina airballs a putt from 15 feet and you just say like, oh my gosh, that never happens. Like, we're not dumb. We've seen this many times. So like that makes me just like lose respect to the commentators when you're trying to convince me that something is super like rare. And it's like, no, we've seen that.
Yeah.
And what I would say to your like 5-putt, right? If someone's 5-putting, I think the best thing you do, say nothing. you can literally just say nothing, let it breathe, and let people take that in, because that tension of each putt miss is going to build and build and build, and you don't have to feel like you have to say the airwaves.
Yeah.
And then as soon as they tap out, be like, whew, that was brutal. Or, you know, and that's it. We all know like 5 putting is not good. Where you don't have to explain to us like, oh, this is really bad. And I would say one thing, last thing on commentary. I feel like sometimes we're doing radio. I feel like sometimes the commentary is if we can't actually see what's going on, and we're the radio commentary has to tell you everything because there is no visual, where I think it'd be better if they just add to it versus just saying everything that we're seeing.
Yeah.
That would be my only thoughts on it. And again, it's going to be something that no one agrees on, and we'll always talk about it. So.
No, I hear that point. Like I said, I think one of the big problems is we don't have professional commentators. We don't have a leader who's a professional commentator. You know what I mean? Like in other sports, I feel like there's usually somebody who like that's what they do.
Yeah.
They're a commentator. And then you have the color commentators come in who have experience in gameplay, who add to that. And I don't think we have that.
Yeah, and it's going to be tough because the financials of it, but I do think commentary is something that is so vital and can really improve. And it's sad when I see so many people on the MPO side and the FPO side say that they mute their televisions, that they mute it, and they can't listen to it. That's tough. So, all right, moving on. Owen Scoggins DNF'd with an arm injury. This was one of the people that I had picked prior that could challenge Kristen at these courses. She went on her Instagram to make a statement saying, "This is the most hard decision I have ever made in my whole career off disc golf, to drop out of the World Championship. I just injured my arm the day before the tournament. I'm in so much pain. I couldn't throw. I couldn't putt even 10 feet. My heart always fights, but my brain and body just doesn't listen to it. I don't want to DNF, but this pain is with me. All my fans, friends, and family, everyone wants me to drop out. So I listened to all of them, and I think I made a good decision for the future, and I'll be back healthy and strong. Thanks for all the love and supporting me. I love you guys so much." I asked her how she was doing. And this was her update. She said that her arm is getting better and she plans on playing MVP. She's currently only throwing sidearm, and she feels like her game is like 50-50 right now. But she doesn't want to DNF anymore. Owen is a bulldog, man.
Yeah.
If you didn't think that she was, come on. Like, she was out there fighting in the terrible weather too. She did not want to DNF. But it was clear that her game was just not where it normally is, and that her injury was definitely affecting her. So, well wishes towards Owen. Hopefully that, this is a good week off that she can have, and hopefully she can get better. Because again, I think she's one of the few people that can contend with Kristen right now that we got. So hopefully she keeps pushing. Okay, a couple people on the leaderboard. Holland Hanley, 3rd place. That's another person where I think her ceiling is not yet reached. So she is someone that has the backhand, has the forehand, just kind of missing out a little bit on the consistency. But she ends her tournament with a great 7 under final round, a fantastic 7 under final round, shooting 14 under for the tournament and finishing in 3rd place. So big ups to Holland Hanley. She's been playing great all season. Then we've got Macy Valadiez, Valerie Manahano. We already talked about Ali and Lucky. Those were your players finishing out of the top 10. Any surprises to you that, I was a little like Haley King, a little surprised there. She finished 28 shots off the lead. Ella Hansen finished 29 shots off the lead. I thought Ella was going to absolutely annihilate Fox. I thought she was going to struggle at Brewster, but 3 rounds at Fox, I thought Ella was going to be in the mix a little bit. Anyone else that you were surprised to maybe not make a push?
I mean, I thought that I thought that Sarah Hokum was going to play well. I thought that I thought that Katrina Allen was going to make a push as well.
I don't even think Hokum made the cut.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think Hokum made the cut.
And so those two were a bit surprising to me because of the World Championships and because of how well they usually play at them and the experience that they have. So that was surprising to me. But other than that, I think we've shaped up the way that we kind of thought it was going to.
Okay, nice. All right. Let's talk real quick about the Paige Pierce post. We have to mention this because it was an absolutely wild post that she later ended up editing. Her original post, though, goes something like this: "Wow, Missy, you are really about to do this. Of all things, I have called you in all of our crazy accents. To add world champion to that, I'm shaking writing this. I love you more than you love your bedtime. I wish I could be there watching you walk up 18 with the giant smile and confidence in your step. Own the day tomorrow and soak up this final round. Everyone help manifest this. Send the energy out. Our girl is going to bring it home in 24 short hours." Now, I think some people took this the complete wrong direction. I will be the first one to say, I think this is a bad post. I would never, if I was in the position of potentially winning a world championship, I wouldn't want any of my friends to post something like this. And then if any of my friends were in the position to win a world championship, I also wouldn't post anything like this. It's almost kind of like the when you got a guy like pitching a no-hitter, everyone stays super far away from him. Yeah. Or if you've got like a game-winning field goal kick comes, like no one's near the kicker. Everyone's just giving that guy like, I don't want to say anything. I don't want to give that guy a look. So it is kind of a wild thing in this situation to kind of like throw this out. She did later change because I think the comments blew up real fast. And I just don't think she kind of knew what was going on. But the comments real quick kind of let her know what was happening. So she ended up changing it to something different. People took this, I think, to be like a shot at Kristen. I didn't see that. Did you see anything other than just, her being super happy for Missy and I think in her mind, which again, I would say is wrong, but I think in her mind, she thought this was like a good post to have to kind of boost Missy's confidence.
Yeah, it's a motivational post to her friend. One of the things that people have to realize is, hey, we don't know their relationship. And her and Missy are very, very close. You can tell and the things that she says in this post. So to speculate on what Missy's thinking or anything like that, is she doing blah, 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 blah. They're close enough that I would hope that this is so personal that it's going to help Missy because of how close they are, as a motivational post. And that's where I'll end it. Like with friendships that are that close, like none of our business, like post it to the world, like try to manifest it is what she's trying to do to push her friend over the finish line. But
you got to expect the comments to come. If you post something like that,
you're going to get crushed.
You're going to get absolutely ripped because that is a wild.
But that's part of it. Hey, I don't care what anybody thinks. This is what I'm telling you.
I know, but then you don't edit. Then you don't edit the post. Then you don't edit the post. You keep the post up. That's my only thing is like if you're going to post something crazy out there like that, freaking own it, right? And just be like, let's freaking go. So the edit, that kind of like, but had to touch on that a little bit. All right, quick trophy situation. World's Trophy. This is my official World's Trophy rating. Take it for what you want. I gave it the look. I gave it a 9 out of 10. I absolutely loved the colored glass. I thought that was really sweet. I couldn't tell watching it live if it was like being refracted by the sun. But it was actually colored. So that was really, really cool. Size, 6 out of 10. I thought it was a little bit on the small size. The text could have been a little bit better. I would have loved to have seen like an engraving. I think that's also like a dope thing. Like if Kristen's like walking to her putt on 18, cut to the guy in the pro shop, like engraving her name on the trophy. I think that's absolutely sick and dope. So overall, 8 out of 10. Also, bonus points. I would not be able to find this trophy in my garage, so it does get a little bit of bonus points for that. One thing I will say, I would have loved to see in the future, like 2 trophies, one that is like the same trophy every year, and then one that like is like the secondary trophy that you get to take home. That would be kind of cool for a world championship to get like your name on a trophy with all the legends. But other than that, any other trophy talk for you or no?
No, I like it.
Bradley Williams leaves his trophy at an Airbnb. Second place at Blue Ridge. Someone, I guess, stayed at the same Airbnb as him and found his trophy. Ended up messaging Brad. Did not seem like Brad really cared about getting it back. And to be honest, I don't blame him. It's kind of an trophy. It's also second place. Brad only wants those first place trophies. So someone got a nice little souvenir from Bradley Williams. That was a wild story. Shout out to Kevin Hoover. Want a quick shout out to Kevin Hoover. If you don't know who he is, go check him out on Instagram. He's the one that takes the majority of pictures for you guys that you see on socials. I thought these pictures, these are some of my favorite photos, the black and whites with Isaac here and then with Kristen Tatar. These photos are unreal. So if you're listening to this, definitely go check those out. And also if you want to see the new background to the PDJ.com with Kristen and Isaac, those have been updated as well for the world champs. All right, let's jump into the tweets and probably what a lot of people are waiting to hear us talk about. First one, thoughts on this tweet by Trevor Staub. He says, least shocking world titles of all time: Golden State Warriors 2017, 2018, Kristen Tatar 2023, all of MJ's titles because he played against plumbers and accountants.
Oh, this is a great tweet. This is a great tweet. I really like that tweet a lot.
If you're not following Trevor on Twitter, make sure to give him a follow. He's a must follow for disc golf content on Twitter. I put up, don't throw this up yet, Silas, because I'm curious to see what Yuli thinks. I put up a poll asking who the favorite going into the last major is, USCGC. I've got Isaac Robinson, Gannon Burr, Calvin Heimberg, and then I said other, like put your name. Of those 4, who do you think got the most votes?
Probably, I would say Gannon.
Calvin 50, almost 53% voted for Calvin as the favorite going into USCGC. Isaac Robinson, 19.3. Gannon at 16.7, who ended up winning it last year, reigning champ. And then other was 11.2. I saw a lot of Simons. I saw some Matty O's. I saw some Eagles in there. And I think some people voted for Paul, but they didn't realize Paul's not playing. And so that was that. So we'll see. People are still on the Calvin train to get it done. He's got one more chance to get the major off his back this season. We'll see if he can do it. All right. Kind of the best towards the end here. Let's get into it. I made the tweet. It said, this is outrageous. Nobody willing to call them out, so I will. This card is 4 shots behind the card in front of them. It was actually 5 holes, not 4 shots. That was a spelling error. Can I say spell? It's not a spelling error. That was just a complete mistake. Why hasn't the PDGA done anything about this? Now, I want to take the time to talk a little bit about this, Yuli. I was on the course and I saw no one on these holes. I think at the time I was on before I got to, I think I was walking over to hole 10, but there was no one on hole 13, hole 14, hole 15. No one was on these holes. I was like, what the heck is going on? So when I got over to hole 10, I looked at my U-disc and I saw this massive gap. Okay. 5-hole gap. They're putting out on hole 13. Ezra's card is putting out on hole 18. Okay. 5-hole gap with a couple of those holes being holes that take kind of a long time to play. This is something, Yuli, that I've heard so many players complain, and obviously Isaac and you don't seem to be one of those players complaining that much about it. But I've heard so many people complaining about slow play that I have come to the point where I do not care anymore. I do not care anymore. I'm just going to start calling it out. I'm just going to start doing it. And it's, to me, I will never understand anyone that defends slow play. It sucks for the people playing. It sucks for the people playing behind the slow play people. It sucks for the fans. It sucks for the production team. It literally sucks for everyone. And I will never understand it. And we had Andrew Presnell, who was on the card that was in question. He said he tweeted out to me, he said, total duration for each card yesterday, my card was 9. So he tweeted out this graph, which hopefully Silas can throw up here, with, I guess he went back in and looked at all the times. I don't know where he got these from. And I don't know if Silas can throw this up so people watching can see it. I'll wait a second here. The graph under Andrew Presnell. There we go. Okay, perfect. So he went through and put everyone's tee time and then put all the gaps that were started between everyone's tee time and then also put the duration. Now, I have no idea where he found this information. No clue. But my only issue with this is I tweeted back to him. I said, one tiny question. How did lead card finish before chase card? If you do the math of when their tee time was and how long they played, based on the chart that he gave me, lead card finished at 6:21 p.m. Chase cards finished at 6:23 p.m. So I know he was trying to use this graph to show like his card didn't play that slow comparative to everyone else. Someone also said that there was another card on here, I think someone called out, that like finished 2 cards in front as well. So I can't take this graph. I have no idea. Hopefully Prez can reach back out to me and let me know where he got these numbers. But the fact that he has cards, unless cards played through, which I don't know, you played the final day, I didn't. Were cards playing through on the final round? Was it the Wild Wild West out there? So I don't know what's going on. I even went even further because there's a bunch of people too that say like, hey, you got to look at the scores, right? You got to say, you know, the card that's 5 holes ahead, they're all playing really well. And the card that's back isn't playing well. So obviously they're going to play slower. Rant's almost over. Here we go. So I did the numbers. The fast card, the card that's on hole 18, at the time that they started, granted they had a 10-minute head start, right? They started 10 minutes ahead. With a 10-minute head start, they threw 223 shots through 18 holes. They walked all 18 holes and threw 223 shots. The slow card threw 179 shots and 13 holes. They did it. So if you're going to tell me in 10 minutes that slow card is going to walk 5 holes and also throw 44 shots, then we can agree to disagree. And I will say, or not agree to disagree. I'll say I'm wrong. But the argument that like if you play bad, you're just going to play slower, that doesn't hold weight here. These guys threw 44 more shots and walked 5 more holes with a 10-minute head start. That's crazy to me. I don't know.
No, I
don't understand the slow play.
I'm the fastest player in my group normally, and I'm usually getting beat by my group. So that doesn't make any sense. I agree with you. No, slow play is awful. There should never be a gap like that. And whenever there is one in front of me or behind me, I don't think there's ever been one. I'm not holding people up in my group because if we are that slow, there's going to be warnings dropped on my card.
Yeah, and that's where I'm at too at this point. Everyone keeps saying like, hey, the players need to do it. The players need to do it. I don't care anymore. I do not care.
Yeah. Like if I've called Nico before on time. I've called probably like 5 or 6 people on time. I have no problem doing it. I'll wait, I'll time, and then I'll call. Like it's just the way that, and if they're close, like if they're within like 30, right in that time, like going over by a couple seconds, who cares? Like do your thing. Yeah. If somebody's in a bad spot, I don't care. I do not time. Like that is something to where I'm just like, okay, do your thing. And some people are like, well, that's not the rules. Well, you know what? I'm a player or not, I can do it. Yeah. That's my rule of thumb when I'm out there on the course is if you're sitting over a 25 footer and you're taking I saw this happen this last week. The guy took 1.5 minutes to putt a 25-foot putt.
Yeah, it's brutal. It's brutal. But honestly, I'd rather have that than someone that takes twice as long to walk to their disc, because at least if someone's doing this, like pump faking for a minute, at least that's like something that I can be like, oh, that's kind of interesting a little bit, versus if someone's just walking, like walking's not interesting unless you're doing the the walking championships or whatever it is, where they're speed walking. Those guys are like moving their hips like crazy. Other than that, it's not interesting. So it is a major issue, because the big thing I hear everyone talk about live coverage is it's too long. It's too long. I don't have 3 to 4 hours a day on the weekends to sit down and watch disc golf. What if we were able to make our rounds 2-hour rounds? Wouldn't that potentially help the product? Like, wouldn't more people tune in if they're like, oh, I can sit down and watch lead card tee off and finish in less than 2 hours, and I'm out.
How long's a football game?
4.
How long's a golf round?
4. But there's a lot more action going on. You're constantly seeing stuff.
No,
and
the thing is you're betting on it, or you have fantasy, or you have golf picks, or you have different things, like your guys in the mix.
Yeah, but I'm not seeing people play with their katana thing. I'm not seeing people play tic-tac-toe in dirt. I'm not seeing a random dirt bike.
You need more commercials.
Like, I'm not seeing more commercials. So yeah, that's just my take on it. And again, I'll say I'm not the only one that has this. Like, people have been so annoyed with slow play, but it's so hard for players to say anything because it's such an awkward thing. So I think we all need to just like start telling the PDJ officials, the TDs, we need to start doing something, because it needs to change. It needs to change. No one likes to just see it. So, and last thing on the slow play thing is I got roasted a little bit by Cat Mertsch. This was, I don't know how long this stayed up. I get it stayed up at least for 12 minutes, because the screenshot here has 12 minutes on it. Someone screenshot this before it disappeared. Quickly got deleted, I believe. That's not it. It's the second one, Silas, next to the it's underneath the Calvin Heimberg poll. Second one. It's black. It's right above Andrew Preston. Oh, okay. He'll pull it up here in a second. But basically, it was a post that she made on her Instagram story that says, when you miss the cut and need to remind people you still exist. Now, if you're a Cat Mertsch fan, or if you don't like me, you were probably pumping your fists and being like, heck yeah, get him. That's awesome.
I kind of like it.
A lot of people did. A lot of
came
people
after you, bro.
Yeah, a lot. I mean, again, one of those things of like kind of lame to delete it. I will say that.
Yes.
Now, I did message her on Instagram to see if she did want to come on the show to talk about it, or talk about pace of play or whatever. And she hearted I said, if you want to come on the show to talk about pace of play, let me know. And she hearted that. And I was like, oh, okay. So then I said, hey, here's my producer's number.
Yeah.
He'll get you, he'll let you know how to get on. And then she did the crying funny emoji to that. So I think I might have gotten trolled twice by her. So she might be up to nothing agained me. I think she thought I was coming after Nico, because Nico's on that card, and they're dating, obviously. I messaged her after, once I saw that post, people were sending it to me. I messaged her saying, hey, this was not a shot at Nico. This was not a shot at Andrew Presnell. This was not a shot at Chandler Kramer for playing too fast. This was more of a shot at the PDGA for not enforcing pace of play. This needs to be enforced. So,
and I'm totally kidding about the shot at you. I think it's funny. I actually like when people speak their minds and they're not afraid. I feel like we live in a spot where everybody's afraid to say what they want to say. And if that's the way that she felt, I don't mind it, because you definitely say what you mean what you say, don't you? And you aren't afraid to put it out there. And
a lot of times I'm wrong, and that's completely fine being wrong. The only thing I don't like about those comebacks, and again, this is where it kind of sucks to have a bad tournament, because if you watch the show, if I have a bad tournament or a good tournament, my mindset towards stuff doesn't change. I'm not influenced by if I played well or played bad. If I played well, I'm not going to be like, this is the greatest course of all time. If I played bad, I'm not going to say this is the worst course of all time. I'm not influenced by that.
I will say this though. If you're going to tweet something like that, or you're going to call somebody out, don't be afraid to come on the podcast and do it in person.
Well, then people will say that, well, I'm not, they'll do the Maria Oliva of where it's like, I'm not going to like boost up your numbers and help your podcast out by coming on it.
Well, no, but you can defend your point in front of, like we have quite a bit of listeners on here, and you can defend your point. It's adults being adults, and it's okay.
Yeah. No, I would love to talk to people about certain things for sure. And I think the podcast format is like it's a pretty good place to do it. But
100%.
But yeah, that is, I will say those two things kind of suck to hear, because I always want to hear, like, I would love to hear like why that's a bad take versus just like saying like you suck at disc golf.
Yeah.
Because to me, that's not really, I'm not talking about, if I say like, hey, I'm the greatest disc golfer of all time, and then you say you suck at disc golf, then that's fine. But I'm talking about pace of play. If I'm good at disc golf or not good at disc golf, that doesn't have anything to say. So,
well, I think part of it too is when you did the tweet and you called everybody out, everybody started pushing blame towards Nico. You know what I mean? Like automatically, like everybody's like, well, look who's on the card. Look at the look, like blah, 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 blah. And so I'm guessing that's what had something to do with it.
Yeah, I mean, it probably didn't help, but again, Nico has talked about being slow. I have had conversations where he has talked about, he knows he's a slow player and he's trying to work through it. He's not the only person that's slow. There are so many people on tour that are slow players, and we just got to get it moving. So, all right, moving on. It looks like Andrew Presnell is actually in the chat. So Prez, I have no idea what mathematical equations you did to give me this thing to where cards are finishing in front of cards in front of you, but I do appreciate you taking the time and effort to do it. But I think that's it. I think, if anyone wants to debate me on slow play is a good thing, I would love to talk to you. I'll leave it at that.
Andrew Presnell, that's funny. I don't think he's a slow player. I played with him. Andrew Presnell is not a slow player, but he should be the first person to be like, hey, group, like we're playing slow. We got 4 holes ahead of us.
It's so hard to be that guy, though. It's so hard to be that guy.
Yeah, it is.
Because a lot of these people are then like going back to the parking lot and like sleeping next to each other in their vans. And like seeing each other when they get out of the showers, and like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's a small knit community. If we were all flying into these tournaments, I guarantee you the vibes on stuff would be completely different. Be way different. And it's tough for everyone, because you get someone like Jordan Castro, when I came in, like people were talking to me like, oh my gosh, that guy like calls everything. So it's like, you can't win, right? Like he was actually probably doing the right thing by calling all the stuff that you should be calling. But if no one else is doing it, then you just get shunned, when in fact he's just trying to abide by the rules. So it's like it's a lose-lose situation for everyone. So it's a tough one. It's a tough one. All right. Did you see the putting world championship, Yuli?
I played in it.
Oh, you played in it? Why have you not talked about this? What are we doing? Yuli, what are we doing?
We played through it.
You guys were playing on a playground.
We played at a playground.
Wait, Silas, can you see if that video, can you try to get that video to play the entire way somehow? Because it's like on a loop, a 2-second loop. See if you can get that to play the entire way. The fact that you weren't on one of those like little horsey things going back and forth in putting, or you weren't on like one of those merry-go-round things where you're standing and then like someone spins you and you're like getting dizzy and trying to putt. What are we doing here, Yuli? Talk to me, man.
We were playing on a playground, man. It was hilarious. I will say this though. The score that Eagle put up was bonkers.
He's on top of a jungle gym. He's putting from on top of a jungle gym right now.
It was a tough course, man.
Oh, okay, this is a normal putt. Like you got grass. Okay, you don't have like those little tire things underneath you.
Yeah.
How many like moms were pissed that you guys were like taking over the playground? Did you guys have to get like a bunch of security to keep all the moms and kids off the playground?
I think they closed it. I hope they did.
Okay, man. Yeah, I did hear Eagle like didn't miss any putts. Good on Eagle to sometimes these world championship things, you don't really actually have the people that are like the best at it or the people that we know that are the best at it end up winning. This is one of those instances like everyone knows Eagle is a ridiculously good putter. So it was good to see that he took that home. All right. A couple questions from the listeners and then we're out of here. We are out of here. So we got one here from Jason B. He says, is Ricky Wysocki underperforming heavily at Worlds after torching the tournament at the same course before Worlds is there? This is wild, Yuli. You ready for this? 2017, Worlds was at GMC. Ricky got third. 2018, he got third. Excuse me. He got third at the event, not at Worlds. These are all at the events prior to Worlds. 2018 at Ledgestone, he got 8th before Worlds. 2021 at Utah Open, he got 2nd. 2021 at DDO, he got 2nd. 2022 at DDO, he won. 2022 at GMC, he got 1st. That's wild. I had no idea. He's just like shredding the courses when it's just like the normal tournament. Anything to take away from that? Or is that just like a fluke stat that someone just was able to pull out?
I think that he just normally torches it. Honestly, I think he's usually a pretty good player.
Yeah. So nothing to take away from that is what you're saying.
No, I do think he's underperforming at the majors without a doubt. I think he's way too good he hasn't won a major in a long time. And I think for sure he's underperforming at the majors because anything that isn't first place, he'll tell you right to us, like, yes, I'm underperforming. I didn't win. So it doesn't, I think at that level, of course, he knows it.
We got one from RSCD20. Rumors of the new hole 18 at Winthrop, a man-made island in the water down the hill from the previous 18. This would be a drivable eagle for a player trying to make a push on the final hole. Have you sniffed any of these rumors, Yuli?
I've heard some rumors here and there. I'm sifting through them right now, but as of my knowledge of the tournament, I haven't heard anything that's like locked down, rock solid.
That'd be nuts if they just made an island in the middle of the water. Well, I guess it's man-made island. It's not. I'm taking that as like I'm thinking of that as like they're making an island in the water when in fact I think they're just making a fake island on land. I got too excited there. Right? They're not actually making an island in the water.
I don't know.
Okay.
That'd be sick though.
I was gonna say we like take a little canoe out there.
The thing with like islands like that are in the water, it sucks because you can't throw your best disc. Like you're gonna go for it with your best flyer.
I remember watching Eagle at the Memorial. This was the first tournament I ever went to, and he's coming down the stretch. And if you've ever played hole 18 at Vista, the old hole 18, it was this kind of a scary shot over the water before they put the triple Mando up. It was kind of a scary shot over the water, and he ended up throwing not his like go-to disc. He ended up throwing a disc that he didn't care about losing on the final hole of the tournament. And at the time, I was like, dude, that's the stupidest thing I ever heard. Yeah. But now that I'm in disc golf, I'm kind of the same way, man. I put discs in that I don't care about. Yeah. Where I'm like, I don't care if I lose this disc. I can't lose this disc, and I'll throw this one. So
100%. Well, I have a disc from last year at USCGC that I got out of my yard, sun-baked, and I'm like, maybe this is a good flyer. It's an old nuke. I took it out there, and I'm like, I'm going to throw – I had it in visions. I'm like, I'm throwing it on hole 5. I don't want to lose my good flyers.
Okay, yeah.
So I do it. I throw it like 3 out of the 4 rounds on my second or my third shot at hole 5, and I ended up parking it every time. And now that's my go-to. So it went from being like my backup to now I'm like, I can't lose this disc. So now I threw another nuke out into the yard and I'm letting it sunbake. And maybe that's like the sneaky process.
That's a sneaky thing. That definitely ends up, that's like how a lot of my discs end up in my bag. It's like, I just put them in there for one water hole. And then I'm like, man, I actually throw this disc really well. I'm just going to keep throwing it.
Right.
All right. Micah says, if someone wants to work towards going pro, is their time best used by just practicing as much as possible? Or should they take some of that time and focus on social media and content creation as well? This is a great question. Great question.
Right now it's tough in disc golf to make a name for yourself without doing like the social medias and everything, unless you're just winning every single tournament. My advice to somebody who's trying to make it in disc golf and grow, let's say, your social media presence is you can do it both. Like, you can record your journey of practice of whatever, and you can do it in a way that it doesn't get in the way of your practice. It's tough to do, but I think it's smart to do both right now, because unfortunately there's a lot of great players that don't make as much as some people who they beat every single weekend because of how important the social media stuff is, especially with like sponsors to be able to be seen in any sport right now. Social media, being able to have people watch you could be the difference between getting a good break for a good sponsor and not. So that is important. Next thing is you definitely need to practice as much as you can every single day. Whatever you wake up right now, you need to set your alarm 2 hours before that, and that's when you should wake up, because practice is everything. Putting in the time is the most important thing. Not playing rounds, getting to the field and putting up as many shots as possible in a short amount of time.
Yeah, 2 things I'll say on that. First one, you look at someone like Simon Lizotte. Simon Lizotte, when I first was doing videos with him way back in the day, I think this was even prior to him even doing YouTube himself, super awkward on camera, super awkward. But it was something that he enjoyed doing. And so he kept doing it and got better and better and better. There are very few people that I would say that are just naturally gifted and good at being in front of a camera and talking and doing all those things that you need to do. So if that's something that's not up your, alley, or if you're, on Twitter, if you're not great with coming up with your thoughts in a word form, some people just aren't going to be really good at social media. But the difference with like Simon is like, he actually loves it. He actually enjoys making content. So when you love doing something, you're okay with the journey of going from and getting better at it. And now Simon is, the most popular player in disc golf. So I'll say, like, if you're going to social media just because you feel like you have to and you don't actually like it, that's probably a bad idea. And I would say, like, probably not a good thing, because it's not cut out for everyone. And we just had Dana on the debate night, and we went 1v1 with each other. And he was talking about how, he made a post calling me a chump, and I ended up quote tweeting it and all that stuff. And I think he usually, if you go and look at his Twitter, he usually gets like, 1,000, 3,000, 4,000 kind of views per tweet. And, his last 2 tweets have like close to 80 to 90,000 views. So he was just getting all of a sudden flooded in his mentions and replies. And that's a lot for some people. And some people can handle it and some people can't. So that's where it's like the social media side, I see how so many people are pushing it, but I'm with you, Yuli. Practicing and like getting better at the craft is probably the easier way. And then once you get up there, then you can kind of tinker with other things. So,
yep.
All right. First time since 2012, Paul McBeth hasn't been first or second at Worlds. First time since 2012, Ricky or Paul haven't been in the top 3. This is from Trevor T, by the way. Avery Jenkins not playing Worlds for the first time in 24 years. I want to talk about this Avery Jenkins thing because Avery Jenkins made this post saying it's an end of an era as I will not be competing in my 24th consecutive disc golf world championships, longest active streak in the sport. I was unable to get into the tournament off the waiting list, and I was denied any type of past champion exemption into the event. Definitely not the way I wanted to see this streak end when obvious accommodations could have been made. I've been fortunate enough to, and then he kind of goes on. Yuli, what are we doing here? How is Avery not able to play? We have 230 people in the World Championship. How do we not have something where it's like, hey, you've won Worlds. You're a world champion. How is he not in the tournament?
I don't know. Looking at that made me so sad watching that post. It reminded me of when Eli Manning didn't get his start and they put in another quarterback. You know what I mean? On this thing to where it's like, wait, what? Why? There's no reason.
This makes no sense.
It's different if it's like a qualifier and you have to do all this stuff. It is a qualifier, but the dude won Worlds. He should be exempt for as long as he wants to, and eventually you just don't play, especially when you have over 200 people in the tournament. I'm sorry, but Avery Jenkins takes precedent over everybody except for people who have won the title. I'm sorry, he does. He earned it. That was very sad. And
this is a big misstep by the PDGA.
Big miss.
This needs to be something that needs to be addressed immediately. Obviously, you can't ever make up for it because, what has happened, but you can fix it for the future. World champions should be playing in the World Championship.
I'm curious of this, and I bet you I know the answer. But if Ken Climo said, hey, I want to play Worlds this year, I guarantee there would have been exceptions made.
Do you think there's some like animosity between Avery and the PDGA? Or are you just saying because of his name?
Just because of who Ken Climo is.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And I might be completely off, but it's definitely something to bring up,
Yeah.
I think that maybe there would have been measures taken for Ken Climo to play in the World Championships. And maybe I'm completely off, but it would, to me, imagine that. Imagine Ken Climo saying, hey, I want to play in the Worlds. And they're
like, no, you're not in.
Can you see a situation where that would happen? That's just mind-blowing to me. But maybe because they did it to Avery, they do it to him.
Yeah, and I could see maybe an argument of where Worlds is like the top 100 and like it's a really prestigious, like, nope, it's just you have to be top 100 in the world to get into this event. I mean, we're letting in so many people into this event that's where it's like it's a wild thing to me. And even if we did like a top 100 thing, I think all the players in the field would love if past champions were automatically in for as long as they want to play. I just do not see the harm in doing that. So hopefully this is something that gets fixed quickly so we don't ever see this again. All right, 2 more questions here. We got Summer Top. In yours and Yuli's opinion, are there too many disc golf disc manufacturers? How many would be ideal? I think there's a simple supply and demand answer, right? Like there's going to be as many disc manufacturers that the demand is for, right? If there becomes to be too many manufacturers, the successful ones will continue and the unsuccessful ones will go away. I don't think there's a right answer, like a right number of like we need to have 5 or 6 or 7.
There could be a billion. The best ones are going to be the best ones.
Yeah, the best ones will continue. And I think for the consumer's purposes, I think the more the better, right? We don't want to get in a situation where there's like one and now you're just stuck with buying $50 discs because no one else is in the market. All right, last question here by Wingman. We got, did the courses play too easy? It sure seemed like they were getting carved up, especially Fox. That's what these courses were. I predicted, I think 45 under would win, which I think was awfully close. I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, I think 9 under around is what I was thinking. 9 under.
I was thinking Brewster between like 6 and 8, 6 and 9 was like a decent round out there. And then double digits at Fox was a decent round. It's just the way these courses were set up. This was not a test of, like crazy difficulty courses. We also didn't have, other than round one, like you said, Yuli, conditions were absolutely perfect. The weather was phenomenal, which scoring is obviously going to go. But if you look at like Fox Run and you even look at Brewster and you go down and you look, not even like the leader, like not even the top guys, you just look throughout the field. I mean, there were double digits being thrown around all over the field by people that missed the cut, by people that, were in the middle. These courses just weren't set up to be super challenging for par, but you couldn't mess up. That was like the challenge out here. You had to go out and get a bunch of birdies. So
I will say that Fox was like gusty, weirdly gusty.
There was like some weird gust. Yeah.
Like at one time it's going this way and then the next time it's going the opposite way. Like very, very, that was probably the toughest thing I thought about the courses. But yeah, the courses aren't designed to be like you said, like a grind to get a birdie. Like it is a hit your line, get your putt, make your putt. If you hit a tree, you're scrambling, and that's the course. That's disc golf in a nutshell, really.
Yeah, and we just heard Isaac said that he threw the worst shot he's ever thrown, and he birdied the hole still. So. That is kind of where disc golf is currently at, and it is what it is. So we aren't going to do picks this week because the Discmania Open is going on this week. It is a silver event. However, I think there's still a lot of people that are signed up for that event that aren't playing in it. So I don't want to have us pick 6 people and only one of them are playing. So we're going to wait until MVP next week. We'll have picks for MVP. We'll have picks for the USDGC, and then we'll finish it out at the Tour Championship to see kind of who is the winner. You're leading quite a lot right now, so I kind of have to make a move.
Hey, to push. I've picked a few winners.
Yeah, you have for sure. All right. Did we miss anything, Silas? Did we miss anything, Yuli? Was there anything else that was out there?
I'm good,
Hopefully,
man.
I think we covered. Okay, I think we got it all. All right. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in. Big shout out to our guest, Isaac Robinson, world champion. Also, quick shout out to the brothers. Back-to-back wins for that Robinson family, with Ezra taking down the silver event the week before. But that's going to do it for Tour Life this week. Again, thank you guys so much. If you guys are watching right now on YouTube, drop a like down below. We appreciate all the support. We thank you for everything, and look forward to talking with you all next week. Yuli, have a good one, brother. Enjoy it. We'll see you up in Boston, man.
Got it. Later.
All right.
Safe.